is enough being made of a sports story that I believe is a very, very big sports story that I don't know, for whatever reason, feels like there's not being much made about this sports story. What am I talking about? Ryan Day taking over the offensive play calling duties for Ohio State in the, I don't know, most important part of the season. Is there, in your mind, more that needs to be made of this? Because I think it's a pretty big deal. For the second season in a row, Ryan Day has lost his offensive coordinator, and now he's saying, look, guys, I know we're in the college football playoff, but I've got this. I've got this. Things are under control. I think that is a very, very big sports story. I know the Garrett Riley conversation that broke yesterday on the show is leading locally, and we're going to get back to that. We talked about it yesterday for the entire fourth hour of the show, but I just don't know if there's enough being made of Ryan Day taking over as the play caller for Ohio State in the college football playoff. Welcome into Wire to Wire. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you on this Tuesday. One more day to go. Well, two more, including today before the new year. So good to be with you and so excited for 2026. Diesel still off this week. I'm solo Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. A lot of fun yesterday, but I'll be with you all day today and want to hear from you on the Joy Law Firm text line at 844-326-3663. The phone lines are open as well. 48 Tolos already, 49 Tolos already watching the show, as you can do on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We love our audience that watches the show. I see Dan B in the chat already, as well as Dewey. And Dan B, you never let me know why you changed your name. So I don't know about the master dad. Is it Bone or Bane? Let me know on that. So a username change. Also, look who just jumped in the chat. Shane Barrett, the champ, is here. He's talking about the Wire to Wire Fantasy Football League. Shane Barrett is the champ. Shane, good to see you. Good to hear from you. I don't know if you've moved from Tuscaloosa back to the upstate yet or not, but if you have, welcome back, my friend. And I would like to invite you today, Shane. Here's what I'm going to do for you. Since you did win the Fantasy Football League, and I don't know, on Twitter, did I remember you correctly saying that you went undefeated this season? Is that right? I would invite you. I would love to have you call in at some point today, as long as it's not when we have a guest on the show, but I'd love to have you call in, and you will get your victory speech. Now, it has to be clean. You can say certain curse words. You just can't say all of the curse words. And Shane, you're one of the few people we've had to hit the dump button on before, dump button Barrett. But you are more than welcome. Just let me know when you're going to call, and I will set it up for you. He says, no, not yet. It will be Monday. Monday is, you're moving back to the upstate on Monday, right? That's awesome, by the way. Welcome back. Let's freaking go. And Dan B says, weren't there 3 different leagues? Well, Dan, there might have been 3 different leagues, but I'll be honest with you. I was checked out, so I'm not sure who won the other 2 leagues. If you won, let me know, and you can have your victory celebration as well. But Shane claims he's the winner. Maybe we need somebody to fact-check Shane Barrett, but if that is true, congratulations to you on that, Shane. Congratulations on winning the Wire to Wire Fantasy League. 54 Tolos watching the show on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Again, want to hear from you at 844-326-3663. I just don't know. Want to get back to this Ryan Day conversation. And I also, yesterday, as busy as yesterday's show was, we didn't really get a chance to talk about Michigan's new hire. And I want to touch on that in this very first segment as well. But I don't know. Ryan Day taking over as the offensive play caller, I think it could be really interesting. So we all know that Miami, Ohio State play tomorrow night. It's New Year's Eve. It's a big game. And we also know that for the second year in a row, Ryan Day has had to replace an offensive coordinator. Now, when your offensive coordinator leaves during the middle of the playoff run, you have to make a tough decision. You can't really bring a guy in and say, hey, Bob, Garrett, Riley, whatever, whoever, we want you to call plays. And I think for the second year in a row, Ryan Day's in a really tough spot here. So is this going to be a catalyst? And Madcraft, I don't know if you're watching and logged in on the stream yet or not, but I know you're a Miami fan, so I'd love to hear your opinion on this. But when it comes to Ryan Day, I want to know from you Tolos out there. I know we have a lot of Buckeye fans that listen. I want to hear from you as well. Do you think that this will be or could be a catalyst for Ohio State in the playoffs? Not saying that Ryan Day can't call an offense. Not saying that Ryan Day doesn't know ball. But I just think that this is a story that maybe is not being talked about enough just because of the magnitude in which we're talking about. We're talking about an offense in Ohio State that's had two really good play, and more than two, but the last 2 years, two really good play callers. He lost Chip Kelly last year. And now Ohio State, they had a 3.5-week break. Think about that for a second. So when you talk about this being a catalyst, maybe this is why you say, no, it's not really that big of a worry for me. Ohio State has had a 3.5-week break, which, by the way, is entirely too long. No college football team should ever have a 3.5-week break between the Big Ten championship and the college football playoff. Again, it kind of goes back to the scheduling, the calendar, and the way the college football playoff is designed. I personally hate it. I really do. I think just like in high school and in the NFL, you win, the season's over, and you play the next week. And then the playoffs are the next week, and then the next week, and then you have the championship. I think a team having a 3.5-week break between their conference championship game and the playoff is ridiculous, number one. Number two, I guess you could say, if you want to play devil's advocate here, you could say, well, Cole, maybe it's not that big of a deal that Ryan Day is having to call his own plays because, to your point, like you just said, he's had 3.5 weeks to find the play sheet, the Waffle House menu, whatever it might be, right? And decide with his staff what game plan, what kind of game plan he wants to implement. Look, here's where I am on it. Do I think it's a big deal? No, not necessarily. I don't think it's a huge deal that Ryan Day has to call his own plays. Do I think it's a deal at all? Do I think it matters? I certainly do. I certainly do think it matters. I'm not going to blow it out of proportion, though, and say like it's this huge catalyst and Ohio State's now at a disadvantage because their head coach is having to go. I would imagine from the outside looking in that Ryan Day is very involved already in the offensive game plan that's implemented every single week, right? I would imagine that. So I do think there are questions. I do think it's okay. I think it's fair for fans to ask questions and maybe be concerned about Ryan Day taking over as the play caller. It was big news in the build-up to 2024 that Ryan Day would give up calling offensive plays. You remember, if you're an Ohio State fan, I know you remember this very well, but he called plays. And for those on the message boards and those that watched Ohio State and those Ohio State fans, they were very adamant that Ryan Day needed to give up play calling duties, at least from what I saw, right? And then you fast forward, he hires Chip Kelly. They have a good year. They win the national championship, 2025, same deal. I do think it's interesting now that he's going back to something. Again, he's done this in the past. It's not like this is his first time ever calling plays. Day did mention that a time might come when he would pass this duty along to somebody else. This was like before the 2024 season. He goes and hires Chip Kelly, which at the time was a home run hire, right? He made Kelly his first offensive coordinator, first in the NFL under mentor Chip Kelly. We all know how that worked out, right? However, after hiring Kelly as offensive coordinator and finally relenting the challenges of being a head coach in a different era of college football, we know what happened with Chip Kelly. So then Chip Kelly leaves, and the result with Chip Kelly was a national championship, right? And was it Ryan Day's offense that was run by Chip Kelly? I don't know. I think there was a large part of that that's true. I think there is a When you look at what Ohio State did, it's not like when Ryan Day stopped calling plays to when he started calling plays, all of a sudden everything changed. I think to a degree, Brian Kelly was running, Ryan Day's offense. And then comes in Brian Hartline. Brian Hartline's done an exceptional job in 2025. He takes the head job at South Florida, and now here you are with Ohio State in the college football playoff. Look, I think it's like riding a bike. That's how I would envision this going. Once you ride a bike, once you learn how to ride a bike, even if it's 5 years, 10 years down the road, you can still get back on that bike, right? You can still figure out how to manage. Ryan Day's called plays before. So I'm taking the stance that I don't think it's a huge deal. I really don't. If you would have told me that Ryan Day's never called plays before and has only been a head coach, okay, then that's different, right? But the guy's called plays before. Is he the best offensive coordinator? Maybe not. I don't know. But it's not like he's having to learn how to ride a bike all over again. Madcraft says, I've studied the differences in Ohio State's offense when he calls versus coordinators. Well, Madcraft, I don't know if you're being sarcastic or realistic with this. I'd love for you to call the show. I'd love to hear it. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'd love to hear the differences because it is intriguing what differences you picked up on. And I know you're a Miami fan. So I'd love to hear, the phone lines are open, what your opinion is on the differences in the offense when Ryan Day calls the offense versus Brian Hartline. I think Brian Hartline's done a really good job this year. I thought Chip Kelly did a really good job last year, right? Whether it was Ryan Day's offense they were running or not, you're more than welcome to call the show, Madcraft, and explain that. I know that it'd probably be a long message if you were to type it out on the stream. That's why I invited you to call the show if you want to do so. So when you look at this season, they were ranked top 25 nationally in yards per game, 429.5 yards per game, top 20 in scoring offense this season, 34.9 points per game. Hartline did a good job. I don't know if he was like, I don't know if Brian Hartline established him this year as some like indispensable offensive coordinator, right? Not saying he didn't do it. I mean, again, they were top 25. Were they top 5? No, but they were top 25. And that's good enough. Heck, they're, contending for a national championship. Day did that in his first 2 seasons as the play caller in Columbus. They were ranked 7th and number 2 in total offense and number 6 and number 8 in scoring offense in Ryan Day's first 2 seasons. So based on those statistics, Ryan Day did a better job calling the offense than Brian Hartline did this year. So that's just a data point. Let's see. When Ryan Day was the head coach and the play caller, they averaged 528 yards and 41.7 points per game over that span. Even with Day balancing the head coaching and play calling duties, Ohio State averaged 501.8 yards per game and 41.66 points per game, which is, by the way, pretty freaking good. Now, I know that in that era, in that 2-year span, Ryan Day had some dudes. There's no doubt. He had some dudes, and the game is now different a little bit. But again, not really worried, not really concerned. Ryan Day did say on record, I've done it before, and we've got a great group of guys here, Day said. Between Keenan Bailey and Billy and Tyler Bowen, that is a great group of guys and everybody else that's a part of it. So we're going to work hard putting this game plan together. I'm involved with most of what goes on anyway, kind of like I said a few minutes ago, so we'll be good. We have good guys. It'll be a group effort, but I think the players will tell you that when we're involved, we're all involved with it anyways. So a lot of the decisions have been made before it ever happens, and I think that's part of play calling is making sure you're organized so that when you get into situations, we already know what the call is. Boom. Bingo. I know in a perfect world, Brian Hartline doesn't take the head coaching job, and he's still got the continuity, right? But he did. Well, South Florida, right? Look, here we go. Buckle up. Maybe Ryan Day can make his presence be felt more on offense in the college football playoff. Maybe, just maybe, this college football or this Ohio State offense with Ryan Day back at the helm as play caller is a little bit better. We'll see. I think it's interesting, though. Where do you stand on an 844-326-3663? I just think that's one of the stories in college football right now that maybe is not being talked about quite enough. I do believe Madcraft has called in. Madcraft, is that you?
Yes, it is.
All right. So you heard, did you listen to the show from the start, or did you just tune in?
No, I was listening.
Okay, so you heard basically what I said on Ryan Day's offenses. They were pretty good when he was the play caller. Pretty good, especially compared to Brian Hartline's.
Yeah, you definitely touched on some of the things that I was gonna point out. But mainly, a lot of the things that you had pointed out were the things that I kind of thought were, minimal in nature. Like, if they had 50 plus yards per game, on average more. Those are not the things that matter to me.
Yeah, doesn't jump off.
I found interesting. Here's what I found interesting.
Okay.
Ryan Day he runs the ball at least 6+ times more per game than both coordinators did.
Okay.
That's concerning to me, because that if the run game gets open for them, then they start becoming two-dimensional. Then our defense has to work more. But the second one, this is where my red flag would be. Ryan Day's completions percentage was 67.7, as opposed to his coordinators were 74.7. The reason being is that they were dinking and dunking. Ryan Day likes to take shots.
Yeah.
And they have the receivers to do it.
Yeah.
That's where my red flag is there.
No, that's a good point. They got Jeremiah Smith. And to your point, in the Big Ten championship game when they lost 13-10 to Indiana, Madcraft, Ohio State ran the ball for 58 yards.
Yeah.
Not good, right? So I would imagine, I don't know, I'm not in the meeting room, they've had 3.5 weeks to prepare for Miami. I would imagine that there's a conversation that's been had where somebody said, hey, guys, we've got to find a way to effectively run the football better than we did against Indiana, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think that probably what they stipulated in their room was doing exactly what Texas A&M really needed to do, and they couldn't do. Basically, always leave yourself in a 3rd and short situation against Miami. You cannot be in a 3rd and long. We're just going to eat you alive if you do that, and that's exactly what happened with A&M. So I think that's the biggest thing. They realize they have got to at least attempt running this football, and they've got to get 3 to 4 yards a carry on those 1st and 2nd downs.
Early downs.
And then I start to worry, because if we have to worry about shutting that run down, like I said, then Jeremiah Smith, he has a 200-yard, 3-touchdown day.
He's good. Hey, he hadn't been exceptional this year, though. Like, he hadn't, the numbers. You know what I mean?
Well, but that kind of goes back to my point. I'm not sure that the play calling was – I don't know if they were really trying to get the ball down the field. They were dinking and dunking a lot of short passes.
Yeah.
And I think that Ryan Day might – he can change that up if he gets the run game going. And that's where my concern is.
Now, the last thing I'll say before I let you go, running the ball, they had 58 yards against Indiana. Miami's front's really good, too. So I think it's easier said than done. I don't know. I mean, 58 yards, you hold Ohio State to 58 yards. I know they don't have Ezekiel Elliott back there, but still, that's pretty impressive. But again, they're going against another really good front that Miami has.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. We are good against the run, but I think even if they try to run it during the first quarter and they're not successful at it, the difference is those coordinators, they would still only run the ball 30 to 34 times a game.
Sure.
Right. Ryan Day ran it 40 plus every time. It didn't matter. So if they continue to try, and by the time we get halfway through the second quarter or we get into the second half, and that run game does start to get them that 3 to 4 yards a carry, then I don't know if our offense is going to be able to score enough. That's where my concern is.
No, I think that's fair. By the way, got to let you go because we got to run to a break. Tomorrow, call back in, Madcraft, with your official prediction. We'll get official predictions tomorrow, okay? Thanks, Matt Kraft. 844-326-3663. Let's go back to the Clemson conversation. We talked about it in the very last hour of the show yesterday, but big news. Garrett Riley, Mickey Kahn fired from Clemson. We're joined by Will Vandervoort of the Clemson Insider in the very next segment to continue to break down what happened and who are the names that you Clemson fans ought to look forward to hearing, maybe the hot board, when it comes to who the next offensive coordinator will be. That's next. Well, we're continuing to react to the biggest news from late yesterday about Garrett Riley and Mickey Kahn being dismissed, no longer a part of the Clemson football staff. And to talk more about it, we bring on Will Vandervoort of the Clemson Insider. Will, how the heck are you, man?
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Doing fantastic. Appreciate you hopping on with me today, man. This is something that a lot of people saw coming. I want to know, do you believe in your heart of hearts that, you know, up until this weekend, the bowl game, that Dabo Swinney was on the fence in the last few weeks about this decision, Will?
No. He wasn't on the fence. No, we've known for a while that Dabo that move was going to be made, and Clemson was going to do everything they could to make sure to try to get Garrett a job before he was going to depart. But because it has monetary reasons for Clemson, now Clemson, because they had to fire him, they're going to have to pay the $3.5 million.
Sure.
So that's one reason. Another reason is Dabo, he likes Garrett. And as he said in his release, and that was a hard decision, but, he wants Garrett he didn't want to hurt Garrett. And he knows when you put that fire tag on it, it kind of sets you back a little bit, and you can overcome it. I think Billy Napier is a great example of that. But yeah, Dabo didn't want to fire him if he didn't have to, but it came down to where he had no choice because Garrett couldn't get a job, couldn't land another job and leave on his own. We reported on December 1st that Riley wasn't going to return in 2026, and we stayed beside our report.
What about Mickey Conn? Do you think Dabo was on the fence about that one?
No. I think that one had really come to a head where it was just time to make a change. And, that, again, another one that was kind of already in the cards. And, I think a decision was made there. And Dabo's a guy that he doesn't like to do changes during the season, and he counts the whole game as a season. And, that's normally his mantra. That's normally the way he does things. Only a few times has he not done that. And also keep in mind, guys, him and Mickey Conn go all the way back. They were roommates at Alabama,
right,
and teammates. So, these guys have known each other their entire lives, basically, and and are really good friends. And so there was, I think they both understood it was time for Mickey to go.
What do you think it was? You mentioned Dabo's relationship with Mickey and them having known each other for a long time. What do you think it was this year specifically that Dabo just found distasteful with that safeties group?
Well, Dabo said it. He's just like, I think I will go back to remember the Duke game, and he talked about the broken coverages and, just guys not doing what they're supposed to. And, he said it was a coaching problem. And he mentioned that, and so I don't know if people know, but Mickey was in charge of the passing game, defensive passing game. That was part of his title. And just as, everything falls on Dabo, well, if it falls on Dabo, guess what? It's going to fall down to his assistants.
Sure.
The Clemson secondary was awful this year, guys. They give up 251 yards a game. And I'm going to be honest, it wasn't Mike Reed's fault, because if you look at Mike Reed's corners, I don't think anybody graded higher or better than Ashton Hampton in the last, 8 games of the football season. Okay. And then, if I'm not mistaken, that guy, Avion Terrell, he's going to be a first round top 10 pick more likely.
Sure.
So it ain't Mike Reed you're following it on, right? So it definitely was the safeties, and there was a lot of blown coverage issues. It's not saying that the corners were perfect, because they weren't, but most of the problems that happened at safety, and a lot of it, you can pretty much put down to coaching.
Do you think Mickey Conn, was a good hire to begin with?
Listen, I like Mickey. Mickey's a good guy, man, and I thought, early on, I thought he did a really good job. When you look at guys like Nolan Turner, who improved under his tutelage. Kayvon Wallace is another guy that improved under his tutelage. R.J. Mickens, a guy now starting for the Chargers in the NFL, was a guy that continued to improve. Andrew Makuba played under him, was ACC Rookie of the Year, the first defensive back for Clemson to ever do that. And then, the Tanner Muse and Nolan Turner were both All-Americans. And the first time that happened, where Clemson had safeties honored as All-Americans since 1981-82 with a guy named Terry Kennard. So I think you got, it ended badly, but you got to look at his overall in the 9 years he was there, that he did a pretty good job, and they won a lot of football games, and he didn't do it with superstars. As you notice, those aren't Christian Wilkins and Cleveland Farrells I just named.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to give him credit there, because they were pretty good in the secondary for a long period of time, and I thought Mickey did a good job. I think there were some areas maybe in recruiting that he could have done better. Maybe wasn't his strongest point at times. But I thought overall Mickey did a good job as a secondaries coach, as a safeties coach for Clemson.
Will, what do you make of player reactions, like recruits' reactions? Like you saw last night, a few of them, heartbroken emojis, things like that. What do you make of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, guys, they love their coaches and they play for them. And these are guys they go to battle with and they're in the team meetings with. And, they have, all these different connections are with them. They laugh, they cry, they fight. All those emotions that go into our everyday lives, They do as well. And they spend a lot of time together, especially during the season. You got to think about it, guys. You go from July until January, you're with these guys every day for 2-3 hours a day. And then and then you got meetings and stuff like that. And, when somebody leaves, it's just like anybody at your job. If they leave and you're good friends with them, you hate to see them leave when they go, but it's just part of business. And right now, college football is more of a business than it ever has been before.
It certainly is. We're joined by Will Vandervoort talking Clemson right here on the Fan Upstate with yesterday's news about Mickey Kahn and Garrett Riley. Who do you put more blame on, Garrett Riley or Cade Klubnik?
Well, you always put more blame on the coach. He's the coach for a reason. I think in the NFL, you can put more blame on the quarterback if you want, or at least equal blame. But Garrett Riley's job is to make Cade Klubnik better, right? And let's be honest, guys, he didn't. He would digress this year. Now, how much of that was on Cade? I would say at least half of it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe more. But Garrett Riley's job as the coach is to try to identify those things and make his quarterback better. And last year he did. I mean, Cade Klubnik was amazing in 2024. When you look at his numbers, they were just unbelievable. 43 total touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. But this year's number is, had 4,100 total yards, which was close to what Deshaun Watson numbers put up. But this year, they weren't even close to coming to those numbers. I mean, not even close, not even the same stratosphere. And, why is that? Well, you got to look at the coach too. And then also, did we think Christopher Mazzina improved? He's been there 3 years, and Dabo didn't even trust him to put him in the game in the Pinstripe Bowl when his quarterback was struggling and they needed a spark on offense. They didn't trust Christopher Mazzina to put him in the game. If that's not a telltale sign, I don't know what is.
Sure. Now that we have addressed that, Will, when you talk about the hot board for coaches, for offensive coordinator, we'll get to defense and safeties in a second. But when it comes to the OC, I've seen a lot of names out there this morning, a lot of crazy names, some names that I think make sense. If you had to knock some off, like some crazy names, and then of the names you've seen, some that you actually think might make sense, where would you start with the crazy names first?
Crazy names. Well, we don't do any crazy names.
That's right. Good answer. Good answer.
We go with who we're hearing are actual candidates.
I know, but you've been on Twitter. You've seen some of the crazy names today. All right, like, for example, Chad Morris. Crazy name or no?
No, not a crazy name.
Wow. Todd Monken. Crazy name or no?
No, not a crazy name.
All right, let me ask you this, because I've been asked this a couple of times today, and I really want to hear your thoughts on it. Why would Todd Monken leave Baltimore to come to Clemson?
Because he wants to come back in the college game. Todd Monken has coached 26 years in college football. He was a head coach at one point at Southern Miss. He likes the college game. He liked it when he was at Georgia. And now, guys, you got to understand, coordinators don't have to recruit anymore.
Yeah,
and
true.
So he can come to Clemson or somewhere else if he wants to, and be like an offensive coordinator in the NFL and just call plays and coach as a position group. It's not a bad gig now in college football for coordinators. And you can make the same amount of money you can make in the NFL. I mean, let's be honest. There's coordinators in college football right now making the same amount of money as coordinators, if not more, in the NFL.
Yeah.
Go to Ohio State's roster if you need proof. Their coaching staff. Go to Penn State's old coaching staff, right? We've seen it. Chip Kelly's coming in. You think Northwestern ain't going to pay Chip Kelly?
Right.
I mean, they are. And so, Todd Monken is a serious name for Clemson. Trust me on that. That's why we reported it. I wouldn't report it if it wasn't. And Chad Morris is a serious name for Clemson, and I wouldn't have reported that if it wasn't serious. So, you know, and then, you know, there's a couple other candidates as well that we put out. And when we do candidates, we're talking about people that we've actually talked to other people in the business who know where Dabo's at, where Dabo's thinking, where he might go. And these are the candidates we're putting out there. We're not just saying, who do we think could be a candidate?
Right.
Because who cares what Will Vandervoort thinks?
Right.
They want to know what Dabo Swinney might be thinking. And that's kind of where we do our reporting and what we're trying to report to people.
Did I leave any off other than those two that you reported?
Cade Bell at Pittsburgh is a guy that there's smoke there. There's a lot of interest there. And the situation with him is going to be interesting is what happens with his quarterback, because his quarterback, you know, he's publicly said he came to Pitt because of Bell. So does he go in the portal if his coach leaves? And does he follow his coach?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's some interesting things to look at, but there is some smoke there as well. Listen, guys, Dabo knew he was going to make a change a long time ago. He's been doing his due diligence when it comes to trying to find a replacement. Dabo's just not doing this half-heartedly. Think about a couple years ago when he replaced Riley. When he got Garrett Riley, replaced Brandon Streeter. He already knew where he was going when he got rid of Streeter.
Yeah.
Well, I think Dabo's in the same boat here. I think he knows what his move is. And, you know, Dabo's always one step ahead of us, guys. Remember that. And so I'm just trying to play catch-up.
What do you think the timeline is, Will?
Well, that's a great question, and here's why it's a great question. Because Dabo, and I've seen media reports saying, well, you know, Dabo's not going to be able to name probably not going to be able to name a reporter until after the portal opens. I mean, a coordinator until after the portal opens. And I'm like, guys, he doesn't have to name a person to the media and to the fans. He doesn't have to. He can do a handshake agreement and be telling the people in the portal whose coordinator is going to be.
Sure.
He doesn't have to wait till it's official before he can go into the portal and start telling the prospects who he's thinking about, or who he's not just thinking about, who he's hired to be his coordinator. He doesn't. That's what I'm saying. So I think Dabo's going to try to have that person at least in a gentleman's agreement going into portal on Friday. That's what I feel, because I think it's that important. I think he's got to have his coaches in place at least at that point to know who, because there's guys in that portal going to ask him, especially on the offensive side, well, who's the offensive coordinator? They're going to want to know.
Sure. Yeah, so agents too, right?
And agents too, and he's got to have an answer for them. He just can't go in there and say, well, we're talking to this guy or talking to this guy. No, and Dabo knows that. Listen, Dabo is one of the more intelligent people you will ever meet. This guy has things planned before – he had things planned before they were planned. That's how he does things. I can't explain that enough to you. And he's not going to go in there just like, oh, you know, we're going to, you know, do this half-heartedly. No, Dabo's going to go in. And listen, Clemson fans, you're getting what you want this year. Clemson's going to go head first into the portal because they have no choice. And there's going to be a lot of action for Clemson in this portal, in this 14-day window. So you need to pay attention to what's going on, because Clemson's definitely diving in head first into the portal this year.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think we'll ever be able to put this to bed? I've seen it on social media in the past 24 hours, like a million times. People text in on this show about it all the time. This Clemson offense conversation, you know, of what offense was Garrett Riley running? You know, was it Dabo's offense? When he hires a new coordinator, will it be Dabo's offense? Will it be Clemson's offense? Or will the new coordinator be able to run their offense? Is that ever going to be put to bed in your mind?
Cole, that's just people don't understand football, man.
Yeah.
If they want to say Dabo's got his own coaches, that's one thing. But if you watch Garrett Riley's offense, that is not Dabo Swinney's offense last 12 years before Garrett Riley got there. That was the air raid offense. Look how they attacked this. Look how they attacked the passing game. Look how their lack of wanting to run the football. It was use the pass to set up the run. That's, you know, it was definitely an air raid offense. Look at how they used the personnel, the screen game. All that was not what Dabo Swinney had been doing, you know, when Chad Morris and Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott were running things, right? And Brandon Streeter. It was a totally different offense. And people who say that, I just shake my head like, y'all guys don't know football.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it, because I've been trying to say it for years now.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to say Dabo has his coaches and he doesn't give the offensive coordinator to bring in his own coaches, that's fine, because that's true. And the reason Dabo does that, though, is because if Dabo's going to get fired, he wants to go down with his own guys and not go down with somebody else's guys. Or let's say he hires an offensive coordinator, and next year that offensive coordinator goes to the NFL or something and leaves Dabo with these coaches that Dabo doesn't even really know who they are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and then you got a constant, you're shifting in brand new coaches all the time instead of just bringing in one guy and having him get used to the coaching staff and how to do it. That's why Dabo likes to do it. And people may not like that, but it actually kind of makes sense if you think about it. But hey, people are going to complain about what they want to complain about, whether it's legit or not, and it is what it is. I've learned that over the years.
Well, what about Drew Cronick? Any smoke there in your mind?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I mean, I'm not saying I'm 100% correct or not,
Sure.
but I just don't think that fits it right now. But I'm not saying that I'm 100% certain either. Because these things are very fluid and things can change in the blink of an eye, and that's what you got to understand with these coaching things. They're but that's the name I really haven't heard on my end. So that's why I say that. Now I could get off the phone with you and somebody call me and maybe I have a different conversation with you tomorrow.
Sure. No, I'm with you. Hey, let me ask you this big picture question. This is a tough one to answer, but I'm going to see if you can answer it anyways. Dabo Swinney, you answer the end of the question here. Dabo Swinney will make how many more, or fill in the blank, I guess. Dabo Swinney will make how many more hires an offensive coordinator in his tenure as head coach at Clemson?
One more.
Ooh. All right, explain.
I just think right now, as I wrote, the program has slipped the last 5 years. This isn't just a 1-year thing. If you look at how things since 2020 have dropped, Clemson went from, I think their record, I've had 75-9 or 75-7. And then it's in the last 4 years, I got the numbers here. Let me find it, guys. I can tell you. Here it is. Clemson's record in the previous 5 years. So this was 2016 to 2020. The record was 75-6. The last 5 years, 47-20.
Wow.
All right. Their record in the ACC, those previous 5 years, 2016 to 20, 38-3. The last 5 years, 29-11. And here's the most telling stat, guys. In playing the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Texas A&Ms, the Auburns, Clemson was 14-4 from 2016 to 20 in those games. Notre Dame's including that list too. In 2021 to 25, in those kind of games, and playing Georgia and LSU and Notre Dame, Penn State the other day, playing big, elite programs, Clemson's 1-8.
Not good.
That's why I said that. The program has slipped. It's not what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I know Dabo's trying to get it back, but the proof's in the pudding. And when you see your record goes from 14-1 in 2019 to 7-6 in 2025 in a period of 6 years, something's not working.
Yeah. Will, last one for you. Do you think anybody else will be canned as well? Do you think there might be any more changes?
That's going to depend on how Dabo handles the coaching situation with his offensive coordinator. If Dabo treats it like old times, then there could be maybe 1 or 2 more changes. I don't know. What I mean by that old times is you bring in the coordinator and the coordinator adjusts to what Dabo's staff is, right?
Right.
Or if the coordinator comes in and Dabo says you got full reign, then we could see a few more changes. So we'll see. I don't think we're totally done because a couple guys could leave on their own, but right now, I think for the moment at least, maybe we don't see anything in the next immediate future. But again, it's very fluid. Things I hear, it sounds like a good part of the people are safe. But I think when that new coordinator comes in, we could have some changes if Dabo allows him to make those changes.
Will, you're the best, man. Always appreciate you taking time to hop on with us, and let's do it again soon.
All right, Cole. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Absolutely. Will Vandervoort, the Clemson Insider. Really good stuff. If you haven't done so already, make sure you give him a follow on Twitter, on X, at Steeler Will. Really good stuff there. If you missed any of it, you can go back on the free Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and you will see the chapters feature every segment broken down chapter by chapter. You can also find the Fan Upstate now on iHeartRadio app as well. Good stuff. We'll react to what Will said in the very next segment. So what do you think about that answer that Will Vandervoort gave when I asked him, how many more offensive coordinator hires do you think Dabo Swinney will make? And I just, I set him up. It's a tough question to answer, and Will Vandervoort said one. One hire is what he said there, and I'm going to post that audio. I'll replay it later in the show. It's about a minute and a half worth of answer there. I'll have it for you later in the show, but I'm going to post it online because I think it is really intriguing. But only one more hire Will Vandervoort thinks, and he gave his stats there to back it up, right? It wasn't just based on nothing. He gave some pretty intriguing stats there. So if you missed any of that, again, you can go back and find it on the Odyssey app, and it's free, by the way, to download if you haven't done so. Just search for The Fan Upstate, and you will see the chapters right there. Let's go to the phone lines real quick before we run to a break. I am solo today, so let me know who it is that is calling 844-FAN-PHONE. Who we got?
This is Dewey.
Hey, Dewey.
I got one thing to say about what's going on with that Garrett Riley situation. First of all, he sucks, and I'm glad he's gone. But the biggest problem that I'm seeing is Dabo keeps hiring his friends. You quit hiring your friends and start hiring real people. You can probably get out of this little hole that you're in and start winning football games again, because you're making the state suck. I'm trying to tell Matt Kraft that I pull for my local teams, even though I don't like Clemson. I want my teams to win, because if they win, they get positive news on the TV. But other than that, the state doesn't get no positive news. So we need our sports teams to do better. But this whole situation with the nepotism and whatever, hiring family members and friends and all this, it's not working. It's not working, Dabo. Yes, you're on the hot seat. So get it together or you're going to be fired. Oh.
Wow. Dewey, real quick, Dewey, are you still there?
Yeah.
Does this mean that you're no longer a South Carolina fan? You're just a fan of, I guess, the state of South Carolina? Is that right?
Well, I'll pull for South Carolina thick and thin, but I'm sick of Shane Beamer and Donati and whatever his name is, the guy who's coaching basketball and Paul Manera. They all making South Carolina suck, and they're going to suck this year until something's really done about it. Oh.
2 ohs right there. Thanks, Dewey. Appreciate that at 844-326-3663. Pulling for the entire state. I like it, Dewey. I like it. And he is obviously upset about that. Tolos, let me know what you think. Is Will Vandervoort right on that? Again, I'll replay the audio for you a little bit later in the show. I'm going to post it online as well on our Twitter and Facebook page, at The Fan Upstate, at the Cole Bryson on X. I think it's really interesting of how many more offensive coordinator hires Dabo Swinney will make. How many do you think? Let me know. 844-326-3663. Let's get into college football playoff in the very next segment. We also have some John Calipari audio that's really, really good. Man, if you haven't heard this yet, it's good stuff. We'll get back to the Daily Wires. I know we usually do them at 3:45. Might have time later in the show, but just was a very short break there. So we'll get back to the Daily Wires a little bit later on. But let's dive into the college football playoff. First game tomorrow night. What are your thoughts on it next? On the Joy Law Firm text line, Keith and TR gets in at 844-326-3663 and says, so then why doesn't Dabo just coach the offense if he refuses to let them bring in their own guys? Again, that comes from Keith in Travelers Rest. I think it's interesting when you talk about bringing in your own guys. I think it's, as a coordinator, and Will kind of touched on this, like in a perfect world, yes, you would want your if you're a coordinator, you would want to come into a situation and be able to bring some guys in with you, right? Especially like on the NFL side of things in the National Football League, you see it happen a lot because the calendar's just so different. You don't have the portal during, the season and the what was it a couple of weeks ago, signing day. Like the calendar's just set up so much better in the National Football League, and you don't have this wild, wacky craziness that you have in college football. So you see a lot more, high-level coordinators bring staff with them in the National Football League. Sometimes in college you can, sometimes in college you can't. Tom Allen, he brought his son to assist in the secondary, but you didn't see Tom Allen last year bring a tremendous staff with him, right, to Clemson. So I think it depends on timing. It's interesting. Like the timing of that question that you asked TR, or that you asked Keith and TR, I think it really comes down to timing. And what I mean by that is, okay, right now Clemson's in a spot where the portal opens on Friday. Because they played in a bowl game, they're kind of, pushed right to the finish line here. They're kind of up against it, as they say. If you bring a guy in, how much time do you have? Have other guys already been hired? You're late in the process. It's almost a new year. Take, for example, South Carolina, who didn't play in a bowl game. They were able to make a hire in Kendall Briles. Kendall Briles then says, hey, I'll bring my own guys with me. He brought his own offensive line coach. They went and got Stan Drayton, right? So it's different. I guess I would say it just comes down to, a lot of times it comes down to timing of when these hires are made. And if you're able to kind of, bring in other guys, bring in your own staff. Again, in a perfect world, if you're a coordinator, yeah, you would like to bring in your own guys if you have them. Sometimes you can. Let's get a quick update on this Coastal Carolina-Louisiana Tech game. This is the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. Coastal Carolina currently leads La Tech 14-3. So Coastal Carolina taking care of business. Again, they went 6-6 on the season, did the Chanticleers. Louisiana Tech 7-5. I don't recall who was favored in this game, but Coastal does lead 14-3 at the moment. Want to get to the college football playoff conversation, Tolos, but do you want to hear, and again, I'm going to leave this up to you because I'm solo today and we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants here. Do you want to get right into the college football playoffs, second round, or do you want to get to this John Calipari transfer portal audio? Let me know. We'll go whichever direction you, Tolos, want to go at 844-326-3663. John Calipari went off for nearly 7 minutes, and I'm not going to play the entire audio, about the current state of college athletics. He was fired up in this press conference. This audio is really, really good. We're going to have an audio blitz yesterday in the 4 o'clock hour, or in the fourth hour, the 6 o'clock hour, but because of the Garrett Riley news, we didn't get a chance to get to the audio blitz. But which do you want to go to? Do you want to get into the college football playoff with the first game tomorrow, or do you want to get to John Calipari? One texter already getting in and saying Calipari. Let's see on the stream. Shane Barrett says Calipari as well. Texter from the 803 says John. So John Calipari it is. The early votes win. Let's get to it. This is spicy. This is pretty good stuff. We'll listen and react. We'll play a little bit of audio and then get back to our thoughts on it and react a little bit to what John Calipari had to say. But this is like, sometimes you have audio that's just too good not to play on the air. I mean, we can't not play this. It's really good stuff. I believe this was yesterday evening when John Calipari went off, scorched earth on the current state, and we'll listen and react to Coach Calipari.
Look, I don't blame coaches. You know, I've got friends that are playing with 27-year-olds and they feel bad. I said, don't feel bad. We don't have any rules. Why should you feel bad? But let me give you this. Real simple. The rules bees the rules. So if you put your name in the draft, I don't care if you're from Russia and you stay in the draft, you can't play college basketball. Well, that's only for American kids. What? If your name is in that draft and you got drafted, you can't play because that's our rule. Yeah, but that's only for American kids. Okay. Now, here's the next lawsuit. Well, we don't have a say over European players. You do if they're playing in college basketball. So that means you don't have a say over high school kids. So whatever a high school kid does before he comes here, don't you do one thing because there's a suit. Because what you're saying is, if he's in Europe, we don't have the same rules. What? If he puts his name in the draft, he can't go to college. He left his name in. Well, that's different because he's European. Okay, you're not doing anything with a high school player then. We don't have any jurisdiction over a high school player, do we? We don't. So when they come, you just got to say, all right, now they're here. The other thing, the eligibility, again, real simple. You got 5 years to play 4. If you stay at the same school 4 years, we'll give you a 5th year. If your coach leaves or is fired, you can transfer without penalty. You can do it once, and if the coach is fired or leaves, you could end up doing it twice. But after that, you got to sit out. You transfer, but you got to sit out. Does anybody care what this is doing for 17 and 18-year-old American kids?
Bam. There you go.
Do you know what this opportunity has done for them and their families? There aren't going to be any high school kids. Who, other than dumb people like me, are going to recruit high school kids?
I'll stop him right there for a second because he said a lot, and I want to react to a few things he said. But we've talked about this before on the show and with different people and different guests. He's 110% on the money here, 110% on the money. The days of traditional high school athletes, especially in basketball, because you can, newsflash, only have 5 on the court at a time. The days of those kids getting recruited, man, they're far and few between. I don't want to say they're gone, but they're far and few between. It's sad. It's really, really sad. Basically, what he's saying is, look, we've got all of these different crazy rules that some are being followed, some are not being followed, and you're telling me all these different stipulations that are only giving advantages to those who are already playing college basketball. And a lot of those kids, a lot of those student athletes who are already playing college basketball are on the back end of their career. So the longer and longer, the more COVID years, I'm going to put that in air quotes there, the more COVID years they get, we all know what's going to happen. It only hurts. It's only detrimental to the ones that are coming out of high school. He could not be more right on that. More of John.
I get so much satisfaction out of coaching young kids and seeing them grow and make it and their family life changes that I'm going to keep doing it. But why would anybody else, if you can get NBA players, G League players, guys that are 28 years old, guys from Europe, do we really know their transcript? Do we have somebody over there? Do we really know their birth certificate? Or don't we? And then, just there's no. Look, Tommy Izzo, Mark Few, there are a bunch of us that are just, we got no rules. Why did they let that kid play? Tell us all. Here's what the reason. Then we'll all go get pros. We'll go find them. Here's my second thing. You ready? No one listens to me. I told you.
So real quick, before he gets to a second thing, I do think it's interesting on his stance, on his approach, because, look, we all love college football, and we think college football is the wild, wild west. Well, newsflash, basketball is the same way. Basketball is the same way, and he's talking about every single issue there is right now in college basketball. I do find it fascinating to hear what his approach is to the game and how he recruits, because you could kind of parallel it here to Dabo Swinney on the football field, right? On the football side of things, because Dabo's the kind of guy who is more traditional. He wants to recruit those high school guys and develop those high school guys. And kind of in the same breath, John Calipari saying the same thing here. John Calipari has always known one thing. He can get young guys in, he can develop them, and does he talk about it a lot? Maybe not, but he can be a positive impact on these guys, and he's done that at the highest level for a long, long time now. So I think it's really intriguing to hear what John Calipari's stance on it is, despite just about every other school in college basketball, every other coach in college basketball saying, we realize that, but we've got to kind of change. We want to go get those older players, because John Calipari's talked about it before as well. You go try to coach against a team who's 4 to 5 years older than you are. That was his problem last year in the SEC. That is a lot of these teams' problems, the coaches' problems, going against certain teams in this new modern era of college basketball. They have a young squad, and they're going against a team that's just deeper and older. And guess what? When you have G League players, and we talked about this on the show a few months ago, when you have G League players, which is unbelievable, that can now come out of the G League and come back and play college basketball, I don't care what you say. That is an unfair advantage to the players who are not that age. It is. They're in the professional ranks. It's an unfair advantage. And I'll tell you this, I believe there's got to be something done, or you'll really see the downfall of high school blue chip kind of recruits who want to be able to go play college basketball at the next level. You're already seeing it, but I think it's only going to continue to get worse. By the way, Coastal Carolina just fumbled. They're up 14-6 over La Tech. La Tech kicked the field goal to make it 14-6. Coastal receiver just fumbled the football. La Tech now has it, only down 8 with the football, and let's see how much time left. It is the second half of play, but I believe it's still the third quarter. So Louisiana Tech football, 11 minutes and 36 seconds to go, still in the third quarter of play. A lot of football left here, but more of John Calipari.
My wife, I talked to her. She's not even listening. She got ear things in, and I didn't know. I'm talking to her. You ready? Mid-season, unless you're in the school. This is an easy rule. We can do this, NCAA. Don't tell me about lawsuits. If you join a program at mid-season, you cannot play that season. If you're in school and have to get yourself eligible, that's okay. You can play the second term without playing the first. What? So now let me ask you this. What does that do for the kids in the program that you're bringing kids in at midseason when it was their opportunity? I mean, I just don't get any of this. And again, Tommy, Mark Few, myself, we got my son, their sons are in this. I just want to help it before I'm out for my kid. I'm very selfish, but it's for that. But this stuff here, I just gave you what we could do. I'm going to give you one other.
He's preaching, isn't he?
The collectives on our campuses, whether you're doing it through your media people, whatever, cannot be involved in recruiting in any way or transfers. But if a kid's on your campus for a year, give them what you want to stay. So we'll get more kids staying. How about this? It'll be great for them academically. They'll probably make more money, but they'll be academic. We're not going to have kids leaving after transferring 4 times. What's the percentage of kids that make the NBA? Unless you play for me, what would be the percentage? Like it's like 1% or less? That means 99% of the college players that are getting money, it's fugazi. Fugazi. Because they're getting 400, 500, 800, $1 million. And they're not pros. So now they have to go get a job after 4 stops. No college degree. No loyalty from the state or the program or anybody. You were a mercenary. Okay. Now you got to go get a job. I don't care what a kid makes. It doesn't. But I do care what we're doing to young people. If all these kids can make $4 million, I don't care. But what we're doing by letting them have transfer at will. Transfer once. Coach leaves. You can go twice without penalty. But other than that, you got to sit out. Because now you get 3 years at one school, you're going to get a college degree. You can't be 30. You got 5 years. Clock is ticking. If you go pro, I don't care what country you're from. You leave your name in. You cannot play college basketball. If you transfer mid-season, can't play. You got to sit out. How about we just do that stuff? We can do it without having Congress and the Senate getting 60 votes. We can do that. Let them sue us on that stuff. I wish you wouldn't have asked me that question.
So it turned into one. It kind of reminded you of Dabo Sweeney a little bit there, right? Turned into one question was about a 7-minute answer. But look, what I love about John Calipari is he's so passionate about the betterment of the sport, right? We know that John Calipari has been at this a very long time. We know that he's won at the highest level, and he'll probably continue to win. I think he's going to have to adapt a little bit and get a little bit older. He'll probably continue to win at the highest level, right? But this guy, you don't hear the selfishness there. That's not what you're hearing. You're hearing a guy that truly cares about the betterment of the sport, and I think that says something. I really do. I think it says something. I think it means something. I wish we had more coaches like that. We've heard Steve Sarkisian here in the last couple of days talk about problems, and we've heard all kind of different coaches over the past year or two talk about different problems within the NCAA. But the reality is we've heard all of these coaches now talk about it. Nothing's being done. Nothing's changes. Nothing is changing whatsoever. So John Calipari, he's 100% correct. He's going to tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. And that's what I love about him. I love John Calipari for that. He truly wants the betterment of the sport. He wants the sport to be better in every way. And to his points, I know there were a lot of good points, but the outrage that he has there, like they're legitimate concerns. And it is only hurting the younger generation of players who are coming up through high school, trying to do things the right way. It's drastically hurting them. Want to hear your reaction, Tolos, to what John Calipari had to say. 844-326-3663. Let's see here. Shane Barrett gets in on YouTube. He says, I have a legitimate counterpoint to the midseason thing. Auburn had 2 centers on their roster. One of them came down with a medical condition that took him out for the rest of the season. Shane went on to say, I feel like they should be allowed to explore the options to get another big man, but there absolutely should be rules around it. So that's a good point. John Calipari talked about there not being able to go out and get another guy, bring him in, same semester, calendar year, and then play. Initially, I agree with him on that. Shane, I understand your point 100%. I totally understand your point there because it's a medical condition. Look, it's out of the player's control. It's out of the coach's control as well. This is going to kind of sound brutal, but, man, that's just the kind of sadly, that's just the way things are. Like, that's the reality of it. So, I don't know. I think you have to have rules. And it just seems like, and we've talked about it a million times in college football, but especially with what John Calipari is talking about here in college basketball, there are just way too many loopholes and way too many unwritten rules, and you're allowed – he said it to open the audio there. He said it. There are no rules. So I think that's really interesting. 844-326-3663. Let's go to the phone lines. I am solo today, so let me know who it is that's calling. Who we got?
Hey, Creed and Cowpens.
What's up, Creed? How are you, man?
Hey, this actually didn't happen this year. It happened last year, but it makes the division tiebreaker. It is so easy. If they would just make the second head-to-head meeting on whatever division team you have, let that be the tiebreaker. Last year, Los Angeles and Seattle played a meaningless game. Minnesota and Detroit, man, it was like a playoff game. Well, that would have been last year. If in other words, the second time you meet decides the tiebreaker.
So we're switching to NFL here, right?
Right. The NFL, Tampa Bay and Carolina had that. They'd be playing for all marbles now. We're really Carolina's best chance now is Atlanta. That's their best chance.
Because of what Atlanta did last night, right?
Right. Of course, what they did last night. That's Carolina's best game of the year last night. They're watching it on TV.
Okay, now tell me again. Go back. I want to hear you say it again. The solution to it.
The second meeting between division teams, the second meeting would decide the head-to-head tiebreaker. It doesn't matter who wins the first meeting. The second meeting would decide the tiebreaker. So Pittsburgh-Baltimore is already that way. It didn't have to be. It could have been the other way around where it didn't matter, just like last year. You see, where the second tiebreaker, the last week of the season, think about it, all division teams play each other the last week of the season. You would hit some games that would matter when they otherwise wouldn't have. Last year, Seattle and Los Angeles did not matter. It was over. It didn't matter who won. If you'd have had that tiebreaker, it would have meant a lot. It would have meant everything.
I like that, Creed. By the way, are you a Panthers fan?
Yes, I am. I bet heavy on them. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm whoever I bet on. I have no loyalty, so I'm a big Panther fan this year. I bet on to make the playoffs, getting 3-1 odds. So I have been up and down with them all year. And if you're looking for the best hope for them, it's simply they've been, win one, lose one the last 10 games. They will set the record if they do it one more time because they'll be the first team to make the playoffs doing it more than 10 times in a row.
Let me ask you this. I get your point there. You saw what happened last night. You watched it, right?
Oh, yeah, every bit of it, yeah.
I imagine so. Do you think it taints, in a way, the game on Saturday between Carolina? It's Saturday, right?
Sure, yeah, Saturday at 4:30. And it does. Of course it does a little bit because it's not for all the marbles. Of course. I mean, not for me. I'm betting. But if you're not betting, if you have a look, it does take away a little bit of the luster because it's not for all the marbles. It's to sit here and watch your TV Sunday. So, but it will make for a good game Sunday. Tampa Bay wins. Boy, it'll make you watch Sunday.
That's true.
All of a sudden, the Atlanta Orleans games, the ratings go up quite a bit in South Carolina, North Carolina.
No doubt. No doubt. Really good stuff there, Creed. Good point. Appreciate the phone call as always, man. Creed in Cowpens, 844-326-3663. All right, let's get into the college football playoff. Your initial thoughts on tomorrow's game and then the 3 games on New Year's Day. The college football playoff second round is here. Let's dive into it next right here on the Fan Upstate. Gosh, you can't open your phone today or yesterday, and going to prepare you for the next 2 to 3 days as well without seeing, especially on Facebook, the S word. I know Dewey, sorry, Dewey. I know you're really sensitive, really touchy on these kind of subject matters and topics, but I don't understand something. Here's what I don't understand about this whole snow thing. All these experts out there, all these meteorologists out there are using, by the way, it's clickbait, just like we do in sports. I mean, come on. If you hadn't figured that out by now, you're the last one to the party. They don't give a rip if it's going to snow or not. They care if you click on their content and follow their page, right? Second of all, I don't understand, and we're going to get to the college football playoff, but quick rant here. Quick rant on this Tuesday. Everybody's saying it's going to – No, Shane. No, not that word. The other S word. Everybody keeps saying it's going to snow, right? I think that between the 6th, 7th, and 8th of next week. So what do? Just like any human being, I go on my Weather Channel app, right? I open the app and I say, okay, well, let's see if it's really going to snow because the Weather Channel app knows it's the end-all, be-all, right? All right, so here's my issue. Again, maybe I'm just stupid and don't understand weather. Again, Dewey will tell you I took one meteorology class in college. I didn't pay attention much. It was online. But everybody's saying, okay, look, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Big snow coming. I mean, I've got friends of mine talking about it last night. Hey, look, it's going to snow. 6th, 7th, and 8th. Well, here's what I don't understand about this whole snow thing. According to the Weather Channel, the weather app, Tuesday, the high is going to be 63. Wednesday, the high is going to be 62. And Thursday, the high is going to be 57. Now, I'm not the smartest man in the room. Definitely not well, I'm the only man in the room today, so I guess I am. Not the smartest man in the world either. In what world can it snow when it's 63, 62, and 57? Can somebody explain that to me? I really don't know. I really don't know. Can somebody explain that? How is it going to snow when it's in the 60s every single day? Again, not the smartest light bulb in the store. Elevator doesn't go all the way to the top sometimes, but doesn't it have to be cold? Doesn't it have to kind of be cold to snow? Like, I don't know, in the 30s, high 30s, freezing, 32, and everything. Every single time I open Facebook, bam, meteorologist. Snow's coming. 6th, 7th, and 8th. I look on the weather app, it's going to be in the 60s. I don't know. Maybe you Tolos out there are a lot smarter than I am. You can tell me what's going on. You can help me figure it out, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, just to be quite honest with you. All right, let's get into the college football playoff. Shane says you set yourself up for that one there, buddy. I did. You're right, Shane, and appreciate the it never fails. You'll always get a bad word in. And on the stream, it's allowed because there's no FCC violation, so you can, curse all you want to on the stream, right? But, yeah, I did set myself up for it. All right, college football playoff. We've been talking about getting there to it for 32 minutes now. I hadn't got to it. College football playoff begins tomorrow. There are a lot of bowl games on right now, but when you look at the college football playoff matchup tomorrow, Ohio State, Miami, let's start there. First, initially, Tolos, what are your thoughts? We'll make our official predictions tomorrow. What are your thoughts, though, on the Miami-Ohio State football game? Want to hear from you at the Joy Law Firm text line, 844-326-3663. Phone lines are open as well. But let's start with the Hurricanes and Buckeyes. This one's in Jerry World tomorrow night, AT&T Stadium, 7:30. That is a 7:30 Eastern kick, which will be 6:30 Central Time. Miami versus Ohio State. The spread, odds makers have it set at 9.5 points in favor of Ohio State. So Ohio State is laying 9.5 points. The total is set at 40.5. A couple of initial thoughts on the spread. Do I think Ohio State's going to win the game? Yeah, I do think they're going to win. I'm not like convinced that they're going to win. I would probably right now go 75-25. 75% of me thinks 75% of me thinks Ohio State will win, 25%. And I think that's kind of high. 25% of me feels like Miami could win the game. I just like what Miami does defensively. If you look at the ESPN matchup predictor, it's not close. It's more like 70-29, 70.5% chance for Ohio State to win the game tomorrow night, according to ESPN analytics, and giving Miami only a 29.5% chance to win tomorrow night against Ohio State, according to ESPN analytics. Now, look, Miami's a good football team. Carson Beck, I think one thing that maybe is not being talked about near enough, and I could be wrong on this, but Carson Beck is as seasoned of a veteran quarterback as you're going to find in the college football playoff right now. Does that matter? I think it does. I think it does matter. Carson Beck he's a veteran quarterback. He's been in college football for a very long time. And I think that in this day, in this era of college football, that does matter. I do think it matters. I like Julian Sayin a lot too. I mean, my gosh, 31 touchdowns on the season, only 6 interceptions, over 3,000 yards on the season. Bo Jackson's a really good running back as well. Jeremiah Smith, we all know how good he is. He hadn't been like the flashiest, the sexiest this season. He still had a quiet 80 receptions for 1,086 yards and 11 touchdowns, but it hadn't been like the breakout season that a lot of people thought we'd see, where Jeremiah Smith could maybe win the Heisman Trophy. I like what Miami does defensively. I'll tell you what I worry about, though. Ryan Day, and Matt Kraft and I talked about this in the very first segment of the show. Ryan Day is now calling plays. What I do, when I think about this matchup and how I see it playing out, and I'm going to wait until tomorrow to make an official pick, but when I look at the matchup, I see Ohio State, in my mind, in my opinion, with a little bit more of explosiveness when it comes to the weapons at their disposal. I think Ohio State offensively has the better talent, better running back, better wide receiving core. Again, I just said I like Carson Beck a lot. Carson Beck's been around the block, and I think that matters for something. But I also think Jimmy's and Joe's matter too, right? I think on paper, and again, I know the games aren't played on paper, but I believe on paper, Ohio State's offense is more talented. Now, Miami's got a pretty good run defense. Miami's front seven has been really good in 2025. That means something. And again, I said it in the first segment of the show, Ohio State did not run the football well at all in the Big Ten championship against Indiana, only 58 yards. So I think there's something to be said about this matchup maybe favoring Miami up front. Because, look, they don't have Zeke Elliott back there. They don't have some of these marquee backs that they've had in the past. They've got one named Bo Jackson. He's not Bo Jackson that we all know. But I think in that area of the matchup, I think Miami actually matches up pretty well right there. I think Miami, with their front defensively, I think they can limit what Ohio State will do on the ground game, which then in turn should really put some pressure on Julian Sayin. He's been phenomenal. I like Julian Sayin a lot. I think he might even be playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder now that nobody respected him during the Heisman Trophy conversation, right? I mean, you saw how many people were interviewing him compared to Fernando Mendoza and Diego Pavia and Jeremiah Love. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's not a factor. Maybe it is. Maybe Julian Sayin plays the best game of his career tomorrow night. I do like some of the games within the game, some of the matchups within the matchup, though, from the Miami standpoint, especially that front seven going against Ohio State. Where I do have concern is on the flip side. I don't know if Miami has the horses. I don't know if Miami has the firepower. I think if you're Miami, you want to muddy this game up as much as you can. You want to murky this game up as much as you can. You want to make this a dirty football game if you're Miami. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's how I feel this game's got to go in order for Miami to have an advantage or have a chance to win this thing tomorrow night. If it gets into a track meet, just to be quite frank, I don't like Miami's chances. I think they've got to muddy this game up tomorrow night. I think they've got to put pressure on Julian Sayin. They've got to limit the rushing attack for Ohio State. And if they can do that, and Carson Beck doesn't turn the ball over, and this offense of Miami can be in advantageous situations, then I like their chances. I'll tell you this right now. I think 9.5 points is a little bit too much. 9.5, like especially in the NFL, that's a lot. I think in a college football playoff game, I think 9.5 is too much. I would lean Miami plus 9.5. Right now, I still think Ohio State wins. But 9.5 points is a lot of points. We'll see. I think that's that's what my gut's telling me, though. On tomorrow's game between Buckeye Mike gets in. Buckeye Mike, obviously, an Ohio State fan. He gets in on the Joy Law Firm text line, 844-326-3663. Buckeye Mike says Ohio State 20, Miami 17. Respectable. I could see it. Respectable score there, Buckeye Mike. I think it's going to be close. I really do. I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be close. Chris gets in on the Joy Law Firm text line and says Miami with the upset. Chris going with Miami. On the YouTube stream, Madcraft says, I would challenge the better running back room. I also like our O-line. And by the way, Madcraft, a big Miami fan for those that didn't know. Fletcher enjoys contact. We got like 7 sacks on a mobile quarterback. Indiana got 5 on Ohio State. It's going to be a dogfight, I'm afraid. Madcraft says, spot on, Cole. It's got to be a physical, aggressive game. And I'm with you there. I think it's got to be physical. You got to muddy it up. Time of possession, I think, will be important tomorrow night as well, and limiting big plays. I think that I hadn't touched on that, but I think that's something that's really big tomorrow night. Limiting big plays, because Ohio State with Ryan Day calling plays, I think that's a real possibility. I think that's a concern you have if you're Miami. Limiting those big plays is going to be really important. It's going to be fun. 3 games on New Year's Day. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. Also, want to let you know, Tolos, if you are a Panther fan, stay tuned. Turn it on. Leave it on. At 5:22, we'll be joined by good friend of the show, Travis Hancock. He's the co-host of the Mac and Bone Show up in Charlotte on WFNZ. He'll join me to talk Carolina Panthers at 5:22. Final segment of hour number 2 next, right here on the Fan Upstate. right, a quick college football scoreboard update for you. Bowl games happening. Did you know that, by the way? Did you know bowl games happening today? You better have if you're a college football fan. Let's see. Coastal Carolina leads Louisiana Tech 14-6 right now. 13 minutes to go in the fourth quarter of that one. I don't know what happened. Louisiana Tech recovered a fumble of Coastal's, got the football back. Coastal got it back somehow, and Louisiana Tech now has the football again. This time they're at their own, they're at their own 37-yard line, so they've got a lot of acreage to cover here, but a big first down, and just like that, Louisiana Tech at the 50. So a one-possession game here, pretty good game, actually, in the Radiance Technologies Bowl. I have no idea what that means. I know Diesel and I played that game before the break, trying to figure out what these bowl. This is the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. Don't know what Radiance Technologies is. I'm sure it's a big, rich firm out of Texas or Wyoming or Nevada. I don't know what it is, but Coastal leads La Tech 14-6. Again, 13 to go in that one. It's been a really good game, believe it or not. So we'll keep you updated on that one. Two other games today. 5:30. I'm excited about this one. 5:30 today on ESPN. It is the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl between Tennessee and Illinois. Two teams that are 8-4 on the season. I don't know how many opt-outs. I'm going to guess like 109 opt-outs total in this game between Tennessee and Illinois. By the way, Coastal Carolina, La Tech fumbled it. Coastal Carolina now has the football back. So La Tech, man, they've been given opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, but they cannot seem to capitalize. 14-6 lead for Coastal now over La Tech. Tonight, 5:30, Tennessee versus Illinois. Brett Bielema versus Josh Heupel. I am curious to see if we will see another upset Brett Bielema like we did last year in the bowl game. That one's on ESPN at 5:30. And then tonight, 9 o'clock, Southern Cal takes on TCU in the Valero Alamo Bowl. By the way, Tennessee favored over Illinois by 2.5 points tonight, 9 o'clock. 9-3 Southern Cal versus 8-4 TCU, the matchup of three-letter schools, programs. Southern Cal, a 4.5-point favorite tonight. So the Trojans laying 4.5 points. Two pretty good games. And again, this Coastal La Tech game that's been on has been pretty good. I love it. I love the midday, early afternoon college football. Obviously, tomorrow night, only the one game because it's the college football playoff game. But sign me up. Two good games tonight. Hopefully, Tennessee, Illinois is a good. I think it should be. I really think it's got the potential to be a good game. Again, you've got the opt-outs. Bowl season's hard. It's hard to gamble on. You don't know who's playing. You don't know who's not playing. But that is your college football bowl game update. Only one game happening right now. And again, La Tech just fumbled. The Chanticleers pounced on it. And that play is now under review. Hour number 3 of the show. On the other side, I want to hear from you Clemson fans in the very next segment. Who do you think's the best replacement for Garrett Riley? We get into that next right here on the Fan Upstate. the show. So good to be with you on this Tolo Tuesday. Terry on Facebook, on the Facebook stream, says, no matter who, the Tigers must get more athletic, more physical, and much more aggressive on the field. That's a good point, Terry. I like that. I'll get back to that in a second because I've got my thoughts on that as well. Jeremy says, I'm not going to read that first one. It's good. Yeah, you know who made that, right? Dewey says Cole lost weight by drinking energy shakes and eating carrots. Dewey, I have no idea what you're even talking about. Oh, it was, by the way, Scotty from BMW who brought up the weight loss. Scotty, good to hear from you. If you're still watching the show on YouTube, 160 watching on the stream right now between Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Good to hear from you, Scotty, Jeremy, Terry, all of those watching the show. Appreciate you doing so. Want to get into Clemson a little bit here. We led the show with Ohio State. We did talk to Will Vandervoort of the Clemson Insider, and that interview, by the way, is on the Fan Upstate's website under the podcast. You can find it there. Really good stuff. Want to get into Clemson and this new offensive coordinator search, but first, I did miss a few texts. I apologize on the Joy Law Firm text line. I do try to read just about every text that comes in. So Buckeye Mike made his prediction going 20-17 Ohio State over Miami. Tolo Steve gets in. He says, I agree with you, Cole. I think Miami's defense, front seven, could give us a hard time, but I like the Buckeyes by a touchdown. OH. Buckeye Mike gets back in and says Miami's defensive line is very, very good. Bain can disrupt the game plan by himself. Coaching will be key in bowl season. I think, Steve, Mike, you're both right. You're both big Buckeye fans. I know we have a lot of Miami fans as well, Madcraft, Hurricane Jeff, and a few others. Look, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's a good matchup. And again, that's why I led the show with it. I think the caveat, the thing that's not being talked about enough is Ryan Day calling plays. Maybe it means diddly squat. Maybe I'm wrong and it means nothing. But Brian Hartline leaving to go to South Florida and now Ryan Day taking over, I think it's intriguing. I think that'll be intriguing to see just how the offense does, either better or worse. Now, look, one game's not a fair sample size, but like I said back in the very first segment of the show, this is not Ryan Day having to learn for the very first time how to ride a bicycle. Ryan Day has called plays before. He did it for 2 years. 2 years. So it's no secret that Ryan Day knows how to call plays. By the way, Louisiana Tech did get the football back. They scored, and I missed it. I guess they went for 2 and didn't get it. It's 14-12. Coastal Carolina still leads. And this, by the way, has been a really good football game. If you're making your way home, turn this one on. It's on ESPN, Illinois and Tennessee starting here in about 30 minutes. But this has been a really good game. The Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. Again, 14-12. Coastal leads La Tech right now. But Coastal, man, they're driving down the field on this possession. 11:38 to go in the ball game. All right, let's see. Waiting on Shane Barrett to give his victory call for winning the fantasy league. I don't know who the other winners. I think there were a few other winners of the other leagues that we had that Dan B pointed out earlier. Not sure who. I can look. Not sure who they were. But Shane says, I'm a Hurricane, Rebel, and Hoosier fan for this week. So you're pulling for Miami, Indiana, and Ole Miss, Shane. I like it since your Auburn Tigers are nowhere to be found, right? Shane, let me know when you're going to give your victory speech. Can't wait for that. That's going to be riveting radio. But let's get into Clemson. Clemson now looking for a new offensive coordinator with Garrett Riley leaving not on his own power. It's not like he left for another job. I do think it's important to point out, I believe others have reported that Dabo Swinney did try his best to help find Garrett Riley another job. We know the Coastal job, Garrett Riley didn't get it. There were a few other jobs that he was in contention for. It didn't work out. So I made a video earlier today that I posted online on my Twitter page, also on the Fan Upstate Facebook page. This is kind of where I start. And then we'll get into the hot board. We'll get into the names. There's so many names out there that I've heard all day today. Will Vandervoort gave us a few of those names as well. I've got thoughts on Todd Monken, Chad Morris, all of that. I've got a lot of thoughts on it. And Tolos, whether you're a Gamecock fan, Clemson fan, whatever, I want to hear from you. 844-326-3663. Phone lines are open. Also, the Joy Law Firm text line is open as well. Want to hear from you. But I want to preface by saying, or by playing this video, because I'm not going to repeat exactly what I said in this video, but this is kind of how I feel on the whole offensive coordinator hire. Yes, the next offensive coordinator hire for Clemson's very, very important. I acknowledge that. I know that. We all know that. But here's the video I posted earlier on our Facebook page and on my Twitter page as well. I want to start with this. I want to preface with this and then get your reactions and go a little bit deeper on some of the names that were out there. But this is what I posted on Twitter and Facebook earlier today. How much is the next OC hire at Clemson really going to matter? Look, I'm not naive enough to think it doesn't matter. It does matter. But I also believe that with this Clemson program, there are other big issues. There are other glaring issues, and whether it's Chad Morris or Todd Monken or whoever it is as the next OC, that's great. Wonderful. You've got another offensive coordinator. Garrett Riley, when he was hired at Clemson, he was a good hire too, right? But there are other issues. Like, the bottom line is, let's just not forget that the talent isn't anywhere close to what it used to be. No, Clemson doesn't have the generational type quarterbacks that they had with Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. But do you think Kirby Smart ever has to contemplate moving a wide receiver over to running back? I would imagine no, he doesn't ever have to contemplate that. The talent is just not up to par. So not saying the offensive coordinator hire doesn't matter, but who's the quarterback going to be? Who's the quarterback going to be? Who's the running back? Like, there are other holes. There are other glaring issues. That's my point. Do I think Garrett Riley was to blame? In part, I do, for his inability to take Clemson's offense to the next level. But all I'm saying is, let's not act like Garrett Riley is the only issue. I still think a lot of the blame falls on the shoulders of Dabo Swinney. So I made that video earlier today, and again, I posted it online. Let me know what your thoughts are there. If you're a Clemson fan, Gamecock, whatever fan you are, I want to hear from you. But I played that video because I think it's important to preface with this. Just like I said in that video clip that you heard, about a minute and a half worth of audio. This offensive coordinator hire for Clemson, there's no question. There's no doubt that it's big. Offensive coordinators play a huge part in a team's success. We all know that. Like, this is a duh statement. Duh. We all know that. Let's get the duhs out of the way. So, yes, it matters. Again, like I said in the video, I'm not naive. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter. But I think that sometimes, especially in this instance regarding Clemson, like I said in that video, I think that sometimes we forget that there are other issues. Clemson, their lack of success in 2025, this past season, their lack of success in 2023, in 22, and 21, all of that does not fall solely on the shoulders of Garrett Riley. It just doesn't. Now, like I said in that clip, is Garrett Riley to blame for some of that? Absolutely. You may call Garrett Riley the scapegoat. That's fine. But what I'm telling you is there are other issues. And look, again, I'm not trying to be the I told you so guy. I'm not. But I told you so. I told you. I've been saying this to my friends, my close friends who are Clemson fans. Those that know me, that have heard me rant about this for 2 years now, sometimes on air, sometimes off air, sometimes passionate, sometimes not so passionate. I've been saying this for 2 to 3 years now. Has Clemson still won championships, ACC championships? Yes, they won an ACC championship last year. Has Clemson still won ball games? Yes, they did. They won ball games. They've won some good games. But Here's the problem. Clemson's not the same Clemson we all knew that Dabo Swinney took with him to the mountaintop. Will Vandervoort gave some incredible stats, some statistics, not opinions, that prove that. I've seen this slippage coming for several years now. A lot of Clemson fans out there were just not ready to admit it. But I've seen this slippage coming for quite some time. And my point in all of this is why I don't put it all on Garrett Riley. I think Garrett Riley is to blame. I don't believe, from what I saw, and I'm no expert, but I do watch a lot of football, I don't believe that Garrett Riley understood complementary football with the personnel that he was given at Clemson. Meaning, and by the way, big run, La Tech's just about to score and take the lead. Meaning, a couple of things. When I watched Garrett Riley offenses at Clemson, I didn't see complementary football a lot of the time. Number two, there was no strong commitment to the run. There was no strong commitment from Garrett Riley offenses to the run game. Now, let's be fair about this. And this kind of goes back to the video that I made and posted and played in saying that it's not all Garrett Riley's fault. Here's what I mean. Garrett Riley, I do fault him some for not being committed to the run game, period. I do. I've talked about the complementary football. I've talked about the lack at times of an identity offensively. I've talked about all of that. But here's the problem I have. Here's why I can't place 100% of the blame on Garrett Riley. At quarterback, Garrett Riley was given Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik's been the only quarterback that Garrett Riley has thrown out there on the field. Yeah, a couple of back, Christopher Vazina this year, one time, whatever. Garrett Riley, and I know he was recruiting Cade as well, but in a sense, Garrett Riley never got to use other tools, other toys at his disposal. He was stuck with Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik didn't have a great year. And yes, you could say, well, Cole, it's Garrett Riley's fault in part that he didn't develop Cade Klubnik into a better quarterback, and that might be true. But I also believe that it's true that Cade Klubnik didn't play his best this year, that he wasn't better this year than he was last year. By the way, La Tech now leads Coastal 18-14, 8 minutes to play. So Garrett Riley was stuck with Cade Klubnik. And then at running back, okay, you had a pretty good run with a couple of good running backs. No, like, generational type running backs like Clemson had a few years ago. No ETN, right? What happens in 2025? Dabo Swinney says, hey, I don't really feel confident in my running back room. So what am I going to do? I'm going to move Adam Randall over from receiver to running back. That's right. A wide receiver is going to move over to running back. That's what Dabo Swinney did. So when others talk about Garrett Riley's refusal to commit to the run game, it's a fair statement. But there also has to be, and I say this all the time, two things can be true. Garrett really didn't commit to the run game. Garrett really didn't commit to running the football, but at the same time, how do you fully blame Garrett Riley for this year's ineffectiveness and inability to run the football when he had Dabo Swinney move a wide receiver over to running back? And again, Adam Randall, I think, did as good of a job as he could have done this year, given the circumstances, right? Clemson didn't have a running back. Gideon Davidson didn't show promise that a lot of you Clemson fans out there told me in the offseason he was going to show. So if we're going to keep it a buck and be fair, yes, Garrett Riley was not great, but at the same freaking time, Garrett's hands were tied. They were tied not from a play, not these idiots that say he was running Dabo's offense. No, I'm talking about from a personnel standpoint. I never liked the personnel that Garrett Riley had, especially this year. Madcraft says the cherry on top is that the offensive line was garbage. y'all weren't running with that. Offensive line wasn't good, there's no doubt, but I don't think the offensive line is the only reason. Like, Cade Klubnik still just could not see the field the way he did at times last year, Matt Kraft. Does offensive line play have to factor into that? Sure it does. You have a trust, sometimes not much trust between you and the offensive line. I think it weighs in a little bit. I don't make too much of it. Cade was bad. And again, offensive line play, whether good or bad, does affect play calling as well. I get that. But Garrett Riley at times was bad. So that's where I am on it. Texter on the Joy Law Firm, text line, Keith and TR gets in. He says, if Dabo's not going to let that was an old text. I'm sorry. All right. Let's go to the phone lines. I believe we have Shane Barrett on the phone lines, a Tolo, who, by the way, when we started the show, lived in the upstate, moved to Tuscaloosa, Alabama for a year or two, or whatever it was, now moving back to the upstate. And Shane Barrett claims, this has not been fact-checked, but Shane Barrett claims that he is the fantasy football winner. Is that right, Shane?
The champ is here. Not only did I win the Wire to Wire League 1 this year, I won Wire to Wire League 1 or 2 last year.
Wow.
And whoever the champion was of the opposite league last year was in my league this year, and I still won this year.
Wow.
13-1 on the backs of Lamar Jackson, Jahmyr Gibbs, your boy, Javonte Williams, and your other boy, George Pickens. My team crushed it this year.
Wow.
And I could not be prouder of them. I would like to humbly thank God for giving me the opportunity to win this championship. I don't think God has anything to do with fantasy football, but he is my Lord and Savior, and it would not be right to not go on here and thank him. But next year, I need the champions of the other 2 leagues to be put in my league so we can really figure out who the champion is in fantasy football for Wire to Wire.
I love that. Congratulations. I think that was a pretty good opening statement there, Shane, as the winner of the Fantasy Football League. I also like that you glorified God. I like that part as well. Very nice opening statement with a little awards music in the background. Let me ask you this. 2 years in a row you've done this, right? And now you're calling out the winners of the other leagues because you want to tackle them next year. What is the key, Shane? What is the key to your success in fantasy football?
Oh, that's a great question, Cole. The key to it is I'm just a nerd and I play in way too many fantasy football leagues. So I do a ton of research and watch these guys and look up their stats, and I take chances. So like one of those chances was Javonte Williams. The Cowboys running back room was cloudy going into the offseason.
Yeah.
And I liked his talent previously, wasn't ever a huge fan of it, but
he was good this year.
He was great.
Yeah.
And I knew he had the opportunity to be the lead back in that backfield. And so it's paying attention to situations like that and taking chances that you think make sense. Because with Dak at quarterback, people don't love Dak, people hate the Cowboys, but that offense is going to be good.
Yeah.
And so you want players that are connected to good offenses typically. So I took a shot on both Pickens and Javonte Williams. And then I had studs that were the cornerstones of my team, and Lamar Jackson and Jahmyr Gibbs, and even Brock Bowers, even though he was hurt for a good chunk of the year, when he played, he was solid.
Yeah. No, I like it, man. Congratulations. Unfortunately, we do have to run off to a break. We do have a guest coming up, but congratulations to you. Your paycheck, your check is in the mail, and be expecting that very, very soon. And I'm glad that I can now call you a friend Cowboys fan.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I like it.
And my closing statement is, if you want fantasy football advice, follow me on Twitter at FFShaneB.
Bam. And you're moving back to the upstate.
Yeah, boy.
Let's go. Shane Barrett, congratulations. Appreciate the phone call and the victory speech. Thought it was a pretty good victory speech there. Speaking of victory, Carolina Panthers have a chance, an opportunity to claim victory this weekend and win a championship. The division, the South Championship. We're going to be joined by Travis Hancock, co-host of the Mac and Bone Show, WFNZ in Charlotte, to talk Panthers next. On the YouTube stream, Madcraft asked Cole, have you seen this Stephon Diggs situation? Yes, Madcraft, I have. Also, my Dallas Cowboys released his brother. And as we're joined by Travis Hancock, good friend of the show to talk Carolina Panthers. He's the co-host of the Mac and Bone show on WFNZ in Charlotte. Travis, I guess it's a really bad day if your last name is Diggs, right?
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Stephon Diggs stuff break earlier in the day, and then, of course, Trayvon Diggs released by the Cowboys surprisingly today. So, yeah, I don't think there's a correlation there that I've seen. Obviously, the mind starts to wonder what took place there, but two separate situations. Happy New Year to the Diggs family. Things are going well here to close 2025.
No doubt. You know, I said earlier, I joked on Twitter, and, you know, I hate Jerry Jones as much as anybody. I said earlier what happened was, Travis, is Jerry was doing whatever Jerry does on a Tuesday afternoon, and he saw the news about Stephon Diggs, and he slammed his fist down, and he got mad, and he saw Diggs, and he told, Will McClay, the director of player personnel, and Stephen Jones, he said, cut Diggs, cut him. He got confused. That's my theory. You like that?
Yeah, no, that is, like, you're joking. Like, I thought, like, did he get mad and cut the wrong player? So it wouldn't surprise you if Jerry did that about it with his Dallas Cowboys.
That's right.
But yeah, he could have put his foot down and said, "We're not going to do that around here."
That's right.
And that was it. So yeah, I don't know if you're that far off, honestly.
We're joined by Travis Hancock, Tolos. If you just tuned into the show, co-host the Mac and Bone Show, WFNZ in Charlotte, talking Carolina Panthers. Before we dive into last weekend and what this weekend means, kind of a after the game, post-game comment made by Ted McMillan when it comes to the defense and what Seattle did defensively, talking about man coverage. I'm sure you saw it as well, and you guys have spent time talking about it on your show. But do you make much of that? I put out a video, and I kind of blew it up a little bit just in terms of what Tet said going against man coverage and Carolina's inability, Travis, to kind of adapt and figure out how to beat that man coverage. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's concerning that they both Canales and T-Mac both went public with that. That was almost overly honest, and Canales has had that come up a few times this year when he says stuff, and you start to think, why would you say that publicly? And then to your point there about, adjustments and all that, that seems pretty basic to us, right? Like, how do these guys spend like 20 hours in their offices and they can't figure out, Seattle may play man? Like, I don't understand. Like, they didn't do anything that seemed that exotic. So how were you not prepared for something that on the surface doesn't seem that big of a deal? So adjustments seem to be a problem a little bit here. With the Panthers, Overo has problems adjusting at times. Canales has problems adjusting. Certainly there's a lot of good stuff going on, but adjustments doesn't appear to be one of them right now.
It's interesting. And to your point, I heard Dave Canales bring it up last night on his show. And, it is one of the things that concerns you. Bryce Young didn't play well on Sunday either. Right. How much of that, do you attribute to just the Bryce Young roller coaster, experiment? I guess I could, call it there. I don't know if you call it an experiment or not, but do you kind of just attribute that to that is who Bryce Young is, or do you say no, that was worrisome in terms of what you saw on Sunday from QB1?
No, because that's sort of who the whole team has been. They're one of the most inconsistent teams in the history of the league. It's like they're only one of 5 teams ever to have win-loss now, I think, for 10 straight weeks, I think it is now, or at least it's 9 or 10. I've even lost track of what it is. It's hard to figure out what the problems were on Sunday. Was it Bryce? Was it play calling? Was it Seattle, who, by the way, tip your hat to them, because that team looks like they have all the pieces to maybe win a championship if Sam Darnold doesn't let them down somewhere along the way.
Right.
So it's hard to figure out, like in the blame pie the other day, like how much goes to Bryce, how much goes to Canales, how much goes to Seattle. I was there, and there was very little deep shots down the field, maybe 1 or 2 the entire game. Was that Bryce just not wanting to throw it deep? Was that Canales, shelling up a little bit? Or was it just the fact that they don't have a lot of really great trusted wide receivers? T-Mac is one of them. He was sick. Leggett, I love him. I'm a Gamecock fan. Does nothing on the field besides block right now. So I don't really know where to put the blame. I guess it's just a collection of everything going wrong in one day. It was the sixth lowest yardage total for a game, passing yards wise, in Panther history. Now, in a very Panther-like thing, the previous 5, they're 3-2. So somehow, in the other 5 lowest games ever, they won 3 of the games. Of course they did. But yeah, that was ugly. I was at the game and I wasn't checking the stats on my phone because of the rain. And I looked at it, and third quarter it had Bryce at 16 yards passing. And I'm like, did they forget to update the stats? No, he really did have 16 yards passing at one point.
No, he did. You're right. I looked at it and thought the same thing. Like, there's no way, that's correct, but it was. He finished with 54. Travis, how are fans in the Charlotte area, and I've heard from a few here, but how are fans up y'all's way reacting to this balance? Because, like, if you asked any Carolina Panther fan, they would sign up for 8-8. They would sign up for, on the 30th day of December, for you and I to be talking about having the conversation of potentially a championship moment this weekend. But at the same time, you have those lows, and man, those lows are really, really low. How are fans kind of balancing that?
They are all over the place. If you don't like Bryce, or you're as we would call it, a Bryce hater, every other week you end up getting your voice heard more because there's something there. Or if you don't like Canales, there's something there that you can really say, hey, told you so. But then every other week, if you're positive and you like where they're going, well, then you're saying, I told you so.
That's right.
I mean, it has been everywhere, man. I think the measured somewhere in the middle approach is probably necessary. I don't really like it when people get after Canales outside of like the stuff he's growing with as a coach. We talk about adjustments. Yeah, that's fair. But we had some people wanting to fire Canales on Monday, and it's like he's, increased the win total already by 6 over 2 years.
Yeah.
Like he got an opportunity probably before he was ready. So let's, easy there. We don't have to fire the coach right away. Bryce all over the place. But then, ESPN did a 10-minute feature on Countdown, Sunday Countdown the other day about how good he's been. So it's like, yeah, he was awful on Sunday, but who's to say that this coming Saturday at 4:30 he doesn't light up Tampa? So it's all over the place. I think things that have been proven this year, I'm not saying Bryce is a top-tier quarterback right now, but I think he's proven this year that he's at least a starting NFL quarterback. Like, it's a matter of where he falls in the pecking order, but he is a starting quarterback in this league. I think Canales can coach in this league, and for them to get to 8 wins, maybe 9, maybe host a playoff game, that's something we would all sign up for, not even just in the preseason goal, but when they were 0-2 and they lost to Jacksonville and Arizona, if we would have told us this is where they would be, we would all sign up. Maybe not the exact route, but like we would sign up for this in a heartbeat.
Joined by Travis Hancock, co-host of the Mac and Bone Show, WFNZ in Charlotte, talking Carolina Panthers. Let's start with Bryce Young, then we'll get to Dave Canales. Bryce Young's like up and down the streaks that we talk about, the inconsistencies, the good, the bad. From the people you've talked to and the people you've heard from, and you guys hearing from Dave Canales, is that more on him? Like these lows, is it on him or is it on the coaching? Like, where do you attribute these really bad performances? What do you attribute that to?
I think that, the quarterback is always the face of everything, but it's been like that as a team, really. So, like, he gets the brunt of that, but there's been times when there's been some games when it really wasn't on him, but you look up and you read his numbers and go, oh, he didn't throw for 300 yards. The other day clearly was definitely a lot on him. I don't know. I think that one of my things that, again, it's just trying to figure it out because we're confused by it too. I know that he's got 10 interceptions on the season. 7 of them are in the losses. 3 are in the he's only got 3 interceptions when they win the game. So he's taking care of the football when they win. I think part of it is, I think that, if you think about it too, like he has a lot of like kind of like brain dead interceptions or interceptions where it's like, how did you not see that guy there? It's ones where the ball immediately leaves his hand and you're like, he's thinking, oh, I want that back. It's not like he's throwing balls deep down the field, taking chances. And it's not like 40-yard bomb interceptions. It's all ones that you just got to get those out of the system. So I wonder when he has an early interception or an early turnover in some of the games, does he lose confidence, or does Canales lose faith in him to call more stuff in an aggressive nature down the field? Because they do sort of have a pattern here in these losses where the offense is terrible. But is that on Bryce not wanting to throw it? Is that on Canales not calling stuff? But I think a lot of it ties in to when Bryce has an early turnover. I think for whatever reason, they get less aggressive because they don't want to turn it over again. And they almost get way too conservative sometimes. Not the fourth down stuff, because they're aggressive on fourth down. They also really, we talked about, the wideouts, and T-Mac is good, but there's not a lot besides that. This team really, really, really desperately needs a tight end to move the chains.
Yeah.
They were 1 for 11 on third down the other day. In this league right now, you have to have a threat at tight end. I think that, Tremble and Mitchell Evans and Sanders, when he's in there, like, they're okay. Like, it's not a horrible group in the room, but man, they need someone of a threat underneath. And I think that would help Bryce out a lot as well to move the chains a little more.
It's wild, man. They've been outscored this year, and yet they have a chance this weekend to, make history and do, for Dave Canales, something that a lot of Panther fans didn't see coming this quickly. How out in left field is it in your mind, Travis, for one day, maybe one day soon, Dave Canales to say, you know what, I'm going to hire an OC. I'm going to let somebody else call the plays. How far out in left field is that?
I think it's pretty far out there right now. I think maybe in time, when he gets a little more experience, he'll do that. Because remember, I said that Canales may have gotten this job a little earlier because of his offensive acumen. So I don't think he's going to just all of a sudden say, hey, here's the play calls, because he's here because of that stuff. So, if they have success and over time, he may say, hey, let me focus on the whole team. But I think he's going to hold on to that for dear life, because that's the reason he got the job, probably before most teams would hire him. So I'm not saying it shouldn't be done eventually, but just looking at this thing, honestly, I don't think he's going to give it up right away, because he knows that he's here because of that stuff. He's got to do better at it, but I think that he knows, like, if I give this up, what am I doing, right? He's going to think, oh, I gave up play calling. That's why I'm here. So I think he's going to hold on to that for a little bit longer. Look, it may be needed eventually. I brought it up too, but I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to easily just say. And there's not really a lot of guys on the staff where you go, oh, that guy's going to be a play. It's hard to figure out right now who would even call the plays, or would it just be Canales' offense and someone else is just calling, and would someone else just be calling the plays on behalf of Canales, really? So I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, it's been it's also a bad look, on his part, if he has to go to his boss and say, hey, boss, to your point, I know I was brought here to call plays, but I can't call plays. So I'm with you there. Let me ask you, defensively, it's been a variety when you talk about these cast of characters that the Carolinas use defensively. Some really good play, on this defense. Nick Scourton's had a good year. J.C. Horn at times. J.C. Horn was a little bit off, I thought, Sunday. Didn't play his best game. Defensively, where do you feel like this team's identity is, not only like right now, but going into the offseason, regardless of what happens in the postseason, if they make the postseason, yada, yada, yada. Where's this team's identity in terms of what this team needs to address? We know what is needed on the offensive side of the football, but from what you guys have heard from this coaching staff, how do they kind of grade what they've seen defensively thus far in 2025?
Well, they were the worst defense ever last year. That's not even hyperbole. Like, that's how bad they were. This year, they're kind of in the top 15 range. It's not been perfect. It's been sort of bend but don't break. But I mean, we're just aghast that Derek Brown didn't make the Pro Bowl. I'm not sure how that happened. That's the heart and soul of the team, along with J.C. Horn. J.C., you're right. He made the Pro Bowl, but I don't think J.C.'s been at his best lately. He seems like his reputation for physical play has kind of got him lately, where the referees are kind of on him, and he's getting some flags. He fell down a couple times against New Orleans. So he's been he's been the least of all the problems, but I don't think we've gotten necessarily the best of him this year, although he's still better than most. But they need to figure out how to put more pressure on the quarterback off the edge. Nick Scourton, the rookie out of Purdue, in Texas, via Texas A&M as well, he's really starting to look the part there. So I think they've got a future with him there. They've got to figure out the other edge spot. So, it's still building. I think this is the year before the year. So the fact that they made this much progress, be interesting to see what they do with Avero. I mean, they made a lot of strides, but there's a lot of in-game adjustments sometimes where you go, what in the heck is going on there? But, I mean, I think with Derek Brown, Merrick, Horn, they need to figure out some more edge help. And the linebackers, I think, have to really get better. They're just getting by this year with Roseboom, and Trevin Wallace wasn't there. But they got to figure out the edge in the linebacker spots. That's the three biggest things I think we've talked about.
Yeah.
Pass catchers, including a tight end, more edge help. I think Scourton's going to be a dude, but another one, and I think they really need to get more side-to-side linebackers. And if they do that, then I think this is not going to be an aberration. I think the Panthers are going to be a team in this spot, hopefully better for a long time to come.
Travis, last one for you. I thought it was really intriguing when I heard Dave Canales last night talking about the timing in which they're playing Tampa Bay. When you and a lot of people, when I looked at the schedule to start the season, I thought, my gosh, they've got Tampa Bay, 2 out of 3 weeks. But I thought Dave brought up a really good point last night saying, hey, look, we won the first time. And it's in recent memory. Like, you don't have to scroll that far back in your iPhone photos to find those pictures of the game plan on how to win that game. Is that something that maybe I and others missed just in terms of whoever does win that first game? You still have that in recent memory. And would you consider that an advantage for Carolina going into this weekend's matchup?
I think they have every advantage outside of, where the game is, if that even matters. I don't know what the Tampa Bay home atmosphere is going to be like because they have confidence against Tampa Bay, and you keep waiting and waiting and waiting for Tampa Bay to look the part, and they're just not. I don't know if they quit, if that's too harsh, but they look like they're ready for their season to end, and they do not want to be in this spot, and they find themselves in it. The Panthers want to be in this spot because this is new to them. Tampa Bay, I think, is kind of like, how did we end up on the Panthers level? I think Baker's hurt. I think he's ready to wrap this thing up. He's played through a lot. Mike Evans, it could be his last game as a Buck on Saturday. That's the thing about this matchup. Based off of winning the first game, with how bad Tampa's been, can you imagine if the Panthers score early and go up 7-0 in this game? Because I think they're Todd Bowles' future. I don't know about that. I think Tampa Bay's ready to send this thing home for the to the offseason. So I actually think that what looked like it would be a problem when we looked at the schedule, hey, Tampa Bay 2 of the last 3 because of how good we thought Tampa was going to be.
Right.
Well, it turns out, no, if they would have played Tampa, 2 of the first 5 games, that could have been a problem. The other thing about Tampa, too, is, they beat Atlanta to start the year by 1. They had to rally. You look at that and go, ooh, that was a good rally at the time. Maybe not so much now, despite Atlanta winning last night. They beat Houston by 1 early, although Houston's one of the best teams in the league now. They certainly weren't week 2. Then they beat the Jets by 2 on that game where Aaron Glenn was doing the funny walk on the sidelines. So you start to look back and go, man, if a couple of those games go the other way by a point or 2, Tampa Bay is so much closer to being a 4 or 5 win team than, say, a 10-win team. Like, they're much more like that than they are a double-digit win team.
Travis, you're the best, man. As always, appreciate your time. And, hey, bring it home Sunday. Let's go get it, man.
Yeah, it feels like a good day to win a championship, right?
I love it. My Cowboys suck.
I said Saturday or last Sunday was a good day to go beat Seattle. So maybe I should just stop.
Well, maybe you don't. I've said this multiple times on air, Travis. My Dallas Cowboys are awful. So I've kind of this year said, okay, I'll pull for Carolina. And that some days works out well, some days doesn't. So maybe I just need to take the same road as you.
Hey, I am a lifelong New York Jets fan. So I understand. Yeah, just think about my pain from the months of, all year round, really. Yeah.
Your entire life. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Great stuff, man. Always appreciate you.
All right, man. You too. Have a good New Year.
You too. Happy New Year to you and yours. Travis Hancock, Mac and Bone Show, WFNZ. Always a lot of fun talking Carolina Panthers with him. And good stuff there. If you missed any of that, you can go back and find it on the free Odyssey app. You can go to the chapters feature where you can see each segment broken down with the title. Good stuff there. We will give you a bowl game update on the other side. This Coastal Carolina La Tech game's been phenomenal. La Tech leading, I'll tell you that, but they're having to push Tennessee to ESPN2 because this game's been so intriguing. But we're going to update you on what's happening and see if Tennessee can jump out early on Brett Bielema. A little college football bowl game update next. Well, Coastal Carolina had a lead, a 14-3 lead, but could not get it done. Ends up falling to Louisiana Tech 23-13. That will be your final score there. And some action already, well, not scoring, but close to it between Tennessee and Illinois. So I'll tell you this, that first bowl game, by the way, it was 23-14. I said the score wrong. Final score, La Tech 23, Coastal Carolina 14. A really good game in the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. The Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl happening right now between Tennessee and Illinois. This game is being played in, I was wrong on that. I was going to say Orlando. Where is the Nashville? Music City. Come on. That was pretty. All right, Tennessee trying a quarterback scramble here, and the quarterback does get in for Tennessee. So Tennessee, Joey Aguilar, the 7-yard rushing touchdown puts Tennessee on top. 11-play, 67-yard drive that lasted about 5 minutes. And with 6 minutes and 16 seconds to go in the first quarter, Tennessee leads Illinois in the Music City Bowl. Tonight, 9 p.m. on ESPN, the Valero Alamo Bowl, USC versus TCU. So one more game, but this one just got started. So if you're just getting home or on the way home, some pretty decent football, given that it's meaningless bowl games and, each team has like 406 opt-outs. Pretty good football being played on ESPN. 3 games today. The first game was really good. Let's see if Illinois can keep this thing competitive. But final hour of the show coming your way. We did not have a chance to do our audio blitz yesterday because right at this time yesterday, the news broke that Garrett Riley had been fired. We will try that one more time. Audio blitz next right here on the Fan Upstate. Tried to get to a audio blitz yesterday at this exact time, but I was interrupted with the news that Garrett Riley and Mickey Kahn had been let go and were no longer a part of the Clemson football staff. So as long as we don't get any more breaking news in this very segment, we will proceed with an audio blitz. By the way, Tennessee leads Illinois first quarter of play. It's going by pretty fast. 2 minutes to go in the first quarter of play. It's 7-0. Tennessee on top, looking for the 9th win of the season are the Volunteers. So appreciate you, Tolos, being a part of the show. I want to remind you, tomorrow is the last show of 2025. Duh, as you can imagine, with tomorrow being the 31st day of the year. We will not be on the air Thursday or Friday. So we'll be off both days. Diesel and I will be back in action, back together, better than ever on Monday. Can't wait for that. 2026 is going to be a lot of fun for you Tolos out there and for us as well. A lot in store. But tomorrow, let's see what time we're going to do this. We've got to get to, I was hoping to get to it today, just didn't have time. The top moments, the best moments of sports in 2025. How about 4 o'clock tomorrow? 4 o'clock tomorrow. Does that sound good? Or should we do it 3 o'clock right off the bat? I don't know, Tolos. You tell me. I've already got, so here's where I am. I want to give you a peek behind the curtains. There were a lot of good sporting moments in 2025. And we're going to rank them. I'm going to rank them tomorrow. I think at 4 o'clock, maybe 3, but I think 4. However, I'm really struggling with something here. I know that I need to do due diligence, do the research, and really find the true best sports moment of 2025. However, I'm struggling because I can't think of anything. I can't think of any moment greater than what Rory McIlroy did back in the spring. So, I know that Rory's moment was not the only great moment of sports in 2025. But I'm just having a lot of trouble finding, because the historic Masters win of 2025 for Rory McIlroy will be one of the all-time great golf moments to remember. And I'm just struggling to find a better sports moment. So maybe in the next 24 hours, I can. Maybe I can't. But 4 o'clock tomorrow, a big show tomorrow. We have Bill Bender of The Sporting News for the final time in 2025. We also are going to be joined by a good friend of the show, one of my favorite people in the world, Ramon Robinson of RR Elite Quarterback Academy. He'll join me tomorrow. Actually, in this segment, 6 o'clock tomorrow, Ramon Robinson joins the show. We'll do best moments of 2025, some more New Year's related stuff tomorrow as well. You tell me, though, Tolos. Look, it's the last show of the, by the way, Illinois just scored. It's now 7-7. Illinois tied Tennessee. You tell me, though, tomorrow's show is going to be loose. It's going to be laid back. It's going to be fun. I want to hear from you. I want to light up the phones tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to tell you. One more. 5 o'clock tomorrow, because we're not on the air Thursday. It's a day early. But one final Tolo takeover of 2025. When you Tolos really turn it on, this is my favorite segment of the week. When you suck, not so good. But one more Tolo takeover tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Going to be a lot of fun. So a big show tomorrow, loose, laid back, kind of prop your feet up. Not really kind of show, but just a fun show. We're going to talk sports. We're going to talk about Miami, Ohio State. I'll make my official predictions probably right off the bat tomorrow at 3 p.m. Out of the gate for the college football playoff game, since tomorrow's my last day on the air with you. But I want to hear from you tomorrow. So get ready and excited. Tomorrow's show is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to do some more fun New Year's-y stuff tomorrow in the show as well. But best sports moments of 2025 coming up at 4 o'clock. May get back to that again at 6:20 tomorrow, but a lot to get to on tomorrow's show. Hope you can be a part of it. Literally wrote this down on the rundown and forgot to get to it earlier in the show, and I forget to say it all the time, but 2025 was a lot of fun, Tolos, and this show is a lot of fun, award-nominated type show because of you, because of your interaction and what you make it. We have a lot of fun. So want to say appreciate each and every one of you for listening, for turning it on and leaving it on. And it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow, but it's going to be even more fun in 2026. All right, Madcraft on the stream. Before we get to our audio, Madcraft says, Cole, I found another interesting stat worth taking a peek at. Then I had a 3 minutes later reply to Madcraft and say, okay, Madcraft will tell me the stat. And then 4 minutes later, he finally tells me the stat. So here's the stat. Let's hear it, Madcraft. All right, ready? For the 183 Tolos watching the stream, by the way, I just put it up on the screen. You can see it there. Madcraft's take, or one interesting stat he says I need to take a peek at. Ohio State has played 2 top 20 defenses all year. They went 1-1. Texas and Indiana. They scored 14 in one and 10 in the other. Why should I expect different against Miami? Again, that comes from Madcraft. Dan B responds and says, well, because the game isn't played on paper. You got him on that one, Dan B. Look, you've got a point. So, again, I said it earlier in the show. Man, I'm high on Miami's defense, and I think 9.5 points is a lot. I do. I think 9.5 points is a lot, and I don't know if Miami will outright win the game, but I do like Miami to cover. So I'm going to take Miami to cover 9.5. I'll make my official predictions on the show tomorrow, but, I mean, you might be right. All right, let's get to some audio. A little audio blitz for you on the show, because we didn't get to it yesterday. You heard from John Calipari earlier today. That was really good stuff. Here's Josh Pate. I like Josh Pate. I think you Tolos do as well. This was a clip of Josh Pate's show on Clemson. I thought it was relevant for our airwaves as well. I'll repurpose it for you Tolos listening that might enjoy it. If you're a Gamecock fan, do you agree or disagree with what Josh Pate says in this clip?
Why should I expect any better? Why should I expect it to turn around? This past year was going to be the year that if the Dabo model still worked, it would be proven. The OC, multi-year starter at quarterback, #1 returning production. And by the way, Clemson being #1 in returning production means a whole bunch of kids Dabo recruited, a whole bunch of kids Dabo developed, minimal portal infusion, and you go 7-6. That was with everything kind of being in place. Now, a lot of those guys leave, and there is very little proven production behind them. And Clemson has not killed it in recruiting. They've been good, but you're talking about who you have to compete against now, and you just refuse to really dip into the portal at all in any significant way. Why would I expect it to be any different? I should expect it to tail off. No,
Wow.
On paper, next year should be worse. Any sizable improvement with that program at this point would require significant change. And I don't think Dabo Swinney is the kind of guy at this point in his career that's going to significantly change. And so what it could just be is it could be that we're sort of watching the final chapter or chapters being written of the Dabo era at Clemson. If it ended today, he'd go down as one of the best of all time. First ballot Hall of Famer. He is the face of Clemson football. When I was a little kid, Clemson football meant one thing. And when I am my age now, it will mean a totally different thing because that guy existed. I couldn't think any more highly of him. But there's an end to everything. Like there's an end to every run. And if you're not going to get with the program here, I mean, if you're not going to adjust, if you're not going to adapt, you will die as it pertains to being a playoff contender.
I think he's right. To note, he also did pick Clemson to win the national championship, but I think he's right. Nobody saw it coming. No talking head, no media. Nobody out there saw this coming. Now, I agree with him. If Dabo couldn't prove it this year, when it's going to be difficult for Dabo to prove it. Now, I did interview Will Vandervoort earlier on the show, back in the 3 o'clock hour. I'm going to play that interview for you next in case you missed it in the very next segment. But I thought this was interesting. This is about a minute of audio here. I asked Will Vandervoort, how many offensive coordinator hires Dabo would make? Here's the question, and here's the answer from Will Vandervoort. Hey, let me ask you this big picture question. This is a tough one to answer, but I'm going to see if you can answer it anyways. Dabo Swinney, you answer the end of the question here. Dabo Swinney will make how many more, or fill in the blank, I guess. Dabo Swinney will make how many more hires an offensive coordinator in his tenure as head coach at Clemson?
One more.
Ooh. All right, explain.
Yeah. I just think, like, right now, as I wrote, like, the program has slipped the last 5 years. This isn't just a one-year thing. If you look at how things since 2020 have dropped, Clemson went from, I think their record, I had 75-9 or 75-7. And then it's like in the last 4 years, I got the numbers here. Let me find it, guys. I can tell you. Here it is. Clemson's record in the previous 5 years. So this was 2016 to 2020. The record was 75-6. The last 5 years, 47-20.
Wow.
All right. Their record in the ACC, those previous 5 years, 2016 to 20, 38-3. The last 5 years, 29-11. And here's the most telling stat, guys. In playing the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Texas A&Ms, the Auburns, Clemson was 14-4 from 2016 to 20 in those games. Notre Dame's including that list too. In 2021 to 25, in those kind of games, and playing Georgia and LSU and Notre Dame, Penn State the other day, playing big, elite programs, Clemson's 1-8.
Not good.
That's why I said that. Like, the program has slipped. It's not what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I know Dabo's trying to get it back, but the proof's in the pudding. And when you see your record goes from 14-1 in 2019 to 7-6 in 2025 in a period of 6 years, something's not working.
So that was Will Vandervoort. And look, I like him. I like Will a lot, and I think Will was dead on there. Is if you just tuned in for this audio blitz, I was playing an answer back, and the question was, how many more OC hires will Dabo Swinney make? Will Vandervoort of the Clemson Insider said 1 more hire. So you take that for what it's worth. I like this as well. Quinn Ewers. How about Quinn Ewers, man, coming in for the Dolphins, getting the win? Here's what he said post-game. A very surprising win.
Yeah, I know. I think I let the game come to me. I already had a game under my belt, and I just, stayed calm, collected. Got a great group of guys around me that, have confidence in me that I'm going to go get the job done, and I have confidence in them that they're going to go do the job. But I think that it all boils back down to where my foundation is, and my foundation in Jesus Christ allows me to just remain level in every situation, because at the end of the day, we're human beings, and we're seen as football players. At the end of the day, we're going to wake up tomorrow. Our family's still going to love us. The people that matter are still going to love us. Yeah, I know.
That was Quinn Ewers after the big win, and again, kind of surprising there. I also am a Quinn Ewers fan. I don't know. Let's go back to Dabo Swinney in what his calling is. This was post-game after the loss to Penn State.
That's my calling in life. Coach, kind of just building off of that last question, hearing what Cade said, you see his admiration for you, his respect for you. How important is it to you to pour into these guys just as men, not just as football players as well?
Yeah, that's my calling in life. That's my purpose. I know everybody wants me to win football games, but it's more about how I win. That's what matters to me more than anything. Always has. It's never been anything different, never will be. It's my purpose in life. Glorify God, be a great husband and father, and to use this platform of football and education to build great men through this game that we love. That's my calling. That's my purpose in life. That's never changed, never going to change. And, man, we've been purpose-driven for a long, long time. We've won a bunch of games, bunch of championships, more than most. We've won a lot more than we've lost, and we'll continue to win a lot more than we've lost. But, that's what it's all about to me, is to, even though, again, it's sad when it ends, because now I don't get a chance to hang out with these guys every day. I don't get a chance to be right there in their presence and help them, just do life, whatever. I also have peace because I know that they're prepared. Like I know they're prepared for what's coming next in life. Marriage, the NFL, business career, whatever it is, they're prepared. Big failure in life, they're prepared for it. Big success in life, they're prepared for it. They've equipped themselves through their time here at Clemson, and I'm thankful to be a part of that.
Dabo Swinney post game, of course, we've talked about it many, many times. People don't have a problem with it, but when you start slipping, that's when it becomes an issue. Here's Dabo on Cade Klubnik's career.
This kid has done a lot of great things, and it's easy to focus on what we didn't do or this and that. He's a top 5 winning quarterback in the history of this school, 130 years. There have been a lot of quarterbacks play at Clemson. So everybody can focus on all the stuff that he didn't do. I focus on what he did do. I focus on the huge plays that he made, winning plays. You win as a team, you lose as a team. Yeah, there's things he'd love to have back. There's a lot of things I'd like to have back. I mean, that's football. But this kid he loves Clemson. He loves his teammates. He's elected captain. He's a top 5 winner in the history of this school. He's a 2-time ACC champion and an MVP of both of those.
Well, he's a top 5 winner, Dabo, because he started for 14 years. I mean, my gosh, I'm with you. Great guy, great kid, but couldn't get it done. That's how people will remember Cade Klubnik. I'm sorry, but sometimes the truth hurts. Kyle Whittingham's first words as Michigan head coach.
All right. I'm operating on about 4 hours sleep in the last 3 days. So if I'm a little bleary-eyed, I apologize. But I can say without question what an honor it is to be here. What a privilege it is to be able to coach this football team, the University of Michigan. Just a place that just reeks of tradition. Academically, as good as anybody in the country, resource-wise, so many things here at University of Michigan that are just absolutely top-notch. One of the top universities in the world, and so it's an honor to be able to be in this position. Like I said, 21 years at Utah. Stepped down a couple weeks ago. Wasn't sure if I was finished or not. I still had a lot left in the tank, but I knew that there was about, you can count on one hand the amount of schools that if they called, I would listen and I would be receptive to what they had to say. Michigan was one of those schools, definitely a top 5 job in the country, without a doubt. And so when the ball started rolling and the more I learned about Michigan, the more excited I got. And I'm just elated to be here.
There you go, Kyle Whittingham's first words. What do you think, Tolos, about the Kyle Whittingham hire at Michigan? I said yesterday very briefly. I know I didn't get to spend a lot of time on it, but I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. I think it could be worse. Here's what he said about Ohio State.
Just to be clear, do you dislike Ohio State, or is that something you have to learn how to do?
I do now, I guess, but like I said, I followed them for quite a while. Me and Irvin were on the same staff at Utah. I was his defense coordinator, so there was a real tight bond there, and I followed his career and obviously stayed in touch throughout the course of his career and had great success there. But now I'm on the right side of the deal now. So
do you hate Ohio State? Yeah, I guess I do now. I guess, right? Am I supposed to? Yeah, I do. All right, last one for you. Sammy Brown postgame. By the way, he was the best player. Sammy Brown was the best player on the field Saturday against Penn State. Here's what he said after the game, after the loss to Penn State.
This is really a hard one. With Wade, he already played his last game, but, Wade and Tyler Venables and all those guys on the defense, it's going to be different coming to workouts in January and, them not being there. It's going to be really tough, and a lot of guys are going to have to take on new roles, and I'm going to have to step into a leadership role and take on being more of a vocal leader. So it's going to be tough, but it's going to be a new journey for me, a new journey for this team, and I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to that. Between Wade and Tyler Venables, I have learned a lot, and some of it not good, but I've learned so much about being a football player, but also being a better human, and just continuing my race at my pace, and not comparing myself to others, and not being somebody that their happiness or sadness is based on other people. So I just give credit to Wade and Tyler Venables. I feel like they've kind of put me under their wing and been a great role model for me throughout this year and last year. This is really a hard one.
That was Sammy Brown after the loss on Saturday. And again, he was really, really good this year. You never thought, man, if Sammy Brown could have just been better. He was so good all season long, career high 14 tackles on Saturday against Penn State. Really good stuff there. Will Vandervoort, the Clemson insider. In case you missed it, Will Vandervoort next, right here on the Fan Upstate. Well, we're continuing to react to the biggest news from late yesterday about Garrett Riley and Mickey Conn being dismissed, no longer a part of the Clemson football staff. And to talk more about it, we bring on Will Vandervoort of the Clemson Insider. Will, how the heck are you, man?
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Doing fantastic. Appreciate you hopping on with me today, man. This is something that a lot of people saw coming. I want to know, do you believe in your heart of hearts that, up until this weekend, the bowl game, that Dabo Swinney was on the fence in the last few weeks about this decision, Will?
No. He wasn't on the fence. No, we've known for a while that Dabo had, that move was going to be made, and Clemson was going to do everything they could to make sure to try to get Garrett a job before he was going to depart. But because it has monetary reasons for Clemson, now Clemson, because they had to fire him, they're going to have to pay the $3.5 million.
Sure.
So that's one reason. Another reason is Dabo, he likes Garrett. And as he said in his release, and that was a hard decision, but, he wants Garrett he didn't want to hurt Garrett. And he knows when you put that fire tag on it, it kind of sets you back a little bit, and you can overcome it. I think Billy Napier is a great example of that. But yeah, Dabo didn't want to fire him if he didn't have to, but it came down to where he had no choice because Garrett couldn't get a job, couldn't land another job and leave on his own. We reported on December 1st that Riley wasn't going to return in 2026, and we stayed beside our report.
What about Mickey Conn? Do you think Dabo was on the fence about that one?
No. I think that one had really come to a head where it was just time to make a change, and that again another one that was kind of already in the cards, and I think a decision was made there. And Dabo's a guy that he doesn't like to do changes during the season, and he counts the bowl game as a season. And, that's normally his mantra. That's normally the way he does things. Only a few times has he not done that. And also keep in mind, guys, him and Mickey Conn go all the way back. They were roommates at Alabama.
Right.
And teammates. So, these guys have known each other their entire lives, basically. And, and are really good friends. And, so there was, I think they both understood it was time for Mickey to go.
What do you think it was? You mentioned Dabo's relationship with Mickey and them having known each other for a long time. What do you think it was this year specifically that Dabo just found distasteful with that safeties group?
Well, Dabo said it. He's just like, I think I will go back to remember the Duke game, and he talked about the broken coverages and, just guys not doing what they're supposed to. And, he said it was a coaching problem, and he mentioned that, and so I don't know if people know, but Mickey was in charge of the passing game, defensive passing game. That was part of his title. And just as, everything falls on Dabo, well, if it falls on Dabo, guess what? It's going to fall down to his assistants.
Sure.
The Clemson secondary was awful this year, guys. They give up 251 yards a game. And I'm going to be honest, it wasn't Mike Reed's fault, because you look at Mike Reed's corners, I don't think anybody graded higher or better than Ashton Hampton in the last, 8 games of the football season. Okay. And then, if I'm not mistaken, that guy, Avion Terrell, he's going to be a first round top 10 pick more likely. Sure. So it ain't Mike Reed you're following it on, right? So it definitely was the safeties, and there was a lot of blown coverage issues. It's not saying that the corners were perfect, because they weren't, but most of the problems that happened at safety, and a lot of it, you can pretty much put down to coaching.
Do you think Mickey Conn, Will, was a good hire to begin with?
Listen, I like Mickey. Mickey's a good guy, man, and I thought, early on, I thought he did a really good job. When you look at guys like Nolan Turner, who improved under his tutelage. Kayvon Wallace is another guy that improved under his tutelage. R.J. Mickens, a guy now starting for the Chargers in the NFL, was a guy that continued to improve. Andrew Makuba played under him, was ACC Rookie of the Year, the first defensive back for Clemson to ever do that. And then, Tanner Muse and Nolan Turner were both All-Americans. And the first time that happened where Clemson had safeties honored as All-Americans since 1981, 82 with a guy named Terry Kennard. So I think you got, it ended badly, but you got to look at his overall in the 9 years he was there, that he did a pretty good job, and they won a lot of football games, and he didn't do it with superstars. As you notice, those aren't Christian Wilkins and Cleveland Farrells I just named.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to give him credit there because they were pretty good in the secondary for a long period of time, and I thought Mickey did a good job. I think there was some areas maybe in recruiting that he could have done better. Maybe it wasn't his strongest point at times. But I thought overall Mickey did a good job as the secondaries coach, as the safeties coach for Clemson.
Will, what do you make of player reactions, like recruits' reactions? Like you saw last night, a few of them, heartbroken emojis, things like that. What do you make of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, guys, they love their coaches and they play for them. And these are guys they go to battle with and they're in the team meetings with. And, they have, all these different connections are with them. They laugh, they cry, they fight. All those emotions that go into our everyday lives, They do as well. And they spend a lot of time together, especially during the season. You got to think about it, guys. You go from July until January, you're with these guys every day for 2-3 hours a day. And then that's, and then you got meetings and stuff like that. And, when somebody leaves, it's just like anybody at your job. If they leave and you're good friends with them, you hate to see them leave when they go, but it's just part of business. And right now, college football is more of a business than it ever has been before.
It certainly is. We're joined by Will Vandervoort talking Clemson right here on the Fan Upstate with yesterday's news about Mickey Kahn and Garrett Riley. Who do you put more blame on, Garrett Riley or Cade Klubnik?
Well, you always put more blame on the coach. He's the coach for a reason. I think in the NFL, you can put more blame on the quarterback if you want, or at least equal blame. But Garrett Riley's job is to make Cade Klubnik better. Right? And let's be honest, guys, he didn't. He would digress this year. Now, how much of that was on Cade? I would say at least half of it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe more. But Garrett Riley's job as the coach is to try to identify those things and make his quarterback better. And last year he did. I mean, Cade Klubnik was amazing in 2024. When you look at his numbers, they were just unbelievable. 43 total touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. But this year's number is, had 4,100 total yards, which was close to what Deshaun Watson numbers put up. But this year, they weren't even close to coming to those numbers. I mean, not even close, not even the same stratosphere. And, why is that? Well, you got to look at the coach too. And then also, do we think Christopher Mazzina improved? He's been there 3 years, and Dabo didn't even trust him to put him in the game in the Pinstripe Bowl when his quarterback was struggling and they needed a spark on offense. They didn't trust Christopher Mazzina to put him in the game. If that's not a telltale sign, I don't know what is.
Sure. Now that we have addressed that, Will, when you talk about the hot board for coaches, for offensive coordinator, we'll get to defense and safeties in a second. But when it comes to the OC, I've seen a lot of names out there this morning, a lot of crazy names, some names that I think make sense. If you had to knock some off, like some crazy names, and then of the names you've seen, some that you actually think might make sense, where would you start with the crazy names first?
Crazy names. Well, we don't do any crazy names.
That's right. Good answer. Good answer.
We go with who we're hearing are actual candidates.
I know, but you've been on Twitter. You've seen some of the crazy names today. All right, like, for example, Chad Morris. Crazy name or no?
No, not a crazy name.
Wow. Todd Monken. Crazy name or no?
No, not a crazy name.
All right, let me ask you this, because I've been asked this a couple of times today, and I really want to hear your thoughts on it. Why would Todd Monken leave Baltimore to come to Clemson?
Because he wants to come back in the college game. Todd Monken has coached 26 years in college football. He was a head coach at one point at Southern Miss. He likes the college game. He liked it when he was at Georgia. And now, guys, you got to understand, coordinators don't have to recruit anymore.
Yeah.
And
true.
So he can come to Clemson or somewhere else if he wants to, and be like an offensive coordinator in the NFL and just call plays and coach as a position group. It's not a bad gig now in college football for coordinators. And you can make the same amount of money you can make in the NFL. I mean, let's be honest. There's coordinators in college football right now making the same amount of money as coordinators, if not more, in the NFL.
Yeah.
Go to Ohio State's roster if you need proof. Their coaching staff. Go to Penn State's old coaching staff, right? We've seen it. Chip Kelly's coming in. You think Northwestern ain't going to pay Chip Kelly?
Right.
I mean, they are. And so, Todd Monken is a serious name for Clemson. Trust me on that. That's why we reported it. I wouldn't report it if it wasn't. And Chad Morris is a serious name for Clemson, and I wouldn't have reported that if it wasn't serious. So, and then, there's a couple other candidates as well that we put out. And when we do candidates, we're talking about people that we've actually talked to other people in the business who know where Dabo's at, where Dabo's thinking, where he might go. And these are the candidates we're putting out there. We're not just saying, who do we think could be a candidate?
Right.
Because who cares what Will Vandervoort thinks?
Right.
They want to know what Dabo Swinney might be thinking. And that's kind of where we do our reporting and what we're trying to report to people.
Did I leave any off other than those two that you reported?
Cade Bell at Pittsburgh is a guy that there's smoke there. There's a lot of interest there. And the situation with him is going to be interesting is what happens with his quarterback, because his quarterback, he's publicly said he came to Pitt because of Bell. So does he go in the portal if his coach leaves? And does he follow his coach?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's some interesting things to look at, but there is some smoke there as well. Listen, guys, Dabo knew he was going to make the change a long time ago. He's been doing his due diligence when it comes to trying to find a replacement. Dabo's just not doing this half-heartedly. Think about a couple years ago when he replaced Riley. When he got Garrett Riley, replaced Brandon Streeter. He already knew where he was going when he got rid of Streeter.
Yeah.
Well, I think Dabo's in the same boat here. I think he knows what his move is. And, Dabo's always one step ahead of us, guys. Remember that. And so I'm just trying to play catch up.
What do you think the timeline is, Will?
Well, that's a great question. And here's why it's a great question. Because Dabo, and I've seen media reports saying, well, Dabo's not going to be able to name probably not going to be able to name a reporter until after the portal opens. I mean, a coordinator until after the portal opens. And I'm like, guys, he doesn't have to name a person to the media and to the fans. He doesn't have to. He can do a handshake agreement and be telling the people in the portal who his coordinator is going to be.
Sure.
He doesn't have to wait till it's official before he can go into the portal and start telling the prospects who he's thinking about, or who he's not just thinking about, who he's hired to be his coordinator. He doesn't. That's what I'm saying. So I think Dabo's going to try to have that person at least in a gentleman's agreement going into portal on Friday. That's what I feel, because I think it's that important. I think he's got to have his coaches in place at least at that point to know who, because there's guys in that portal going to ask him, especially on the offensive side, well, who's the offensive coordinator? They're going to want to know.
Sure.
And
yeah,
so
agents too, right?
And agents too. And he's got to have an answer for them. He just can't go in there and say, well, we're talking to this guy or talking to this guy. No, and Dabo knows that. Listen, Dabo is one of the more intelligent people you ever meet. This guy has things planned before they were planned. That's how he does things. I can't explain that enough to you. And he's not going to go in there just like, we're going to, do this half-heartedly. No, Dabo's going to go in and listen, Clemson fans, you're getting what you want this year. Clemson's going to go head first into the portal because they have no choice. And there's going to be a lot of action for Clemson in this portal, in this 14-day window. So you need to pay attention to what's going on, because Clemson's definitely diving in head first into the portal this year.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think we'll ever be able to put this to bed? I've seen it on social media in the past 24 hours, like a million times. People text in on this show about it all the time. This Clemson offense conversation, of what offense was Garrett Riley running? Was it Dabo's offense? When he hires a new coordinator, will it be Dabo's offense? Will it be Clemson's offense? Or will the new coordinator be able to run their offense? Is that ever going to be put to bed in your mind?
Cole, that's just people don't understand football, man.
Yeah.
If they want to say Dabo's got his own coaches, that's one thing. But if you watch Garrett Riley's offense, that is not Dabo Swinney's offense the first last 12 years before Garrett Riley got there. That was the air raid offense. Look how they attacked this. Look how they attacked the passing game. Look how their lack of wanting to run the football. It was use the pass to set up the run. That's, it was definitely an air raid offense. Look at how they used the personnel, the screen game. All that was not what Dabo Swinney had been doing, when Chad Morris and Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott were running things, right? And Brandon Streeter. It was a totally different offense. And people who say that, I just shake my head like, y'all guys don't know football.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it because I've been trying to say it for years now.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to say Dabo has his coaches and he doesn't give the offensive coordinator to bring in his own coaches, that's fine, because that's true. And the reason Dabo does that, though, is because if Dabo is going to get fired, he wants to go down with his own guys and not go down with somebody else's guys. Or let's say he hires an offensive coordinator and next year that offensive coordinator goes to the NFL or something and leaves Dabo with these coaches that Dabo doesn't really know who they are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and then you got a constant, you're shifting in brand new coaches all the time instead of just bringing in one guy and having him get used to the coaching staff and how to do it. That's why Dabo likes to do it. And people may not like that, but it actually kind of makes sense if you think about it. But hey, people are going to complain about what they want to complain about, whether it's legit or not. And it is what it is. I've learned that over the years.
Well, what about Drew Cronick? Any smoke there in your mind?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I mean, I'm not saying I'm 100% correct or not, but I just don't think that fits it right now. But I'm not saying that I'm 100% certain either. Because these things are very fluid and things can change in the blink of an eye, and that's what you got to understand with these coaching things. They're but that's the name I really haven't heard on my end. So that's why I say that. Now I could get off the phone with you and somebody call me and maybe I have a different conversation with you tomorrow.
Sure. No, I'm with you. Hey, let me ask you this big picture question. This is a tough one to answer, but I'm going to see if you can answer it anyways. Dabo Swinney, you answer the end of the question here. Dabo Swinney will make how many more, or fill in the blank, I guess. Dabo Swinney will make how many more hires an offensive coordinator in his tenure as head coach at Clemson?
One more.
Ooh. All right, explain.
Yeah. I just think right now, as I wrote, the program has slipped the last 5 years. This isn't just a 1 year thing. If you look at how things since 2020 have dropped, Clemson went from, I think their record, I've had 75-9 or 75-7. And then it's in the last 4 years, I got the numbers here. Let me find it, guys. I can tell you. Here it is. Clemson's record in the previous 5 years. So this was 2016 to 2020. The record was 75-6. The last 5 years, 47-20.
Wow.
All right. Their record in the ACC, those previous 5 years, 2016 to 20, 38-3. The last 5 years, 29-11. And here's the most telling stat, guys. In playing the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Texas A&Ms, the Auburns, Clemson was 14-4 from 2016 to 20 in those games. Notre Dame's including that list too. In 2021 to 25, in those kind of games, and playing Georgia and LSU and Notre Dame, Penn State the other day, playing big, elite programs, Clemson's 1-8.
Not good.
That's why I said that. The program has slipped. It's not what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I know Dabo's trying to get it back, but the proof's in the pudding. And when you see your record goes from 14-1 in 2019 to 7-6 in 2025 in a period of 6 years, something's not working.
Yeah. Will, last one for you. Do you think anybody else will be canned as well? Do you think there might be any more changes?
That's going to depend on how Dabo handles the coaching situation with his offensive coordinator. If Dabo treats it like old times, then there could be maybe one or two more changes. I don't know. What I mean by that old times is you bring in the coordinator and the coordinator adjusts to what Dabo's staff is, right?
Right.
Or if the coordinator comes in and Dabo says you got full reign, then we could see a few more changes. So we'll see. I don't think we're totally done because a couple guys should leave on their own, but right now, I think for the moment, at least, maybe we don't see anything in the next immediate future, but again, it's very fluid. Things I hear, it sounds like a good part of the people are safe, but I think when that new coordinator comes in, we could have some changes if Dabo allows him to make those changes.
Will, you're the best, man. Always appreciate you taking time to hop on with us, and let's do it again soon.
All right, Cole. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Absolutely. Will Vandervoort, the Clemson insider.